Warning: this stream is for entertainment purposes. The opinions expressed by the participants might be exaggerated for comedic effect. Harsh language can be used. Thought-provoking or controversial topics may be discussed.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Terror of Your Skin. And most of all, hello, Armani Ginger.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. I've
I'm
never
glad
seen
you're
your
here.
intro before. That was some, I didn't like that sound.
No? Are you scared?
A little bit.
Shouldn't be.
Okay.
You know where that sound come from?
No, where's it from?
It's a recording of the planet Saturn.
Oh, I don't like it more now.
You should like
That's
it
even
less.
scarier.
Yes. Well, Saturn is hell, but that's for a different stream. So I also want to see people in chat that are already joining us. Let me do my little thing. Hello, Shauner. So we're gonna solve RPG once and for all at this time. Crispy, one stream at a time. Well, no, this one is gonna be the Nifit one. Then after that, it's all gonna be over. All the question of the RPG hobby are gonna be solved. 12% of the world population of the Ginger's population in one stream. Imagine if we had like a Ginger Fraser with us.
Ginger Fraser, yeah. And Patty.
That'd be too much.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah, Nords. Yeah.
Yeah.
And hello's on the LR as well. And remember, guys, put your skin back on at the end of the stream. I guess I don't say that enough because yes, obviously you should take it off before the stream when the stream start. But yeah, like you can put it back when the stream's over, right? Just like don't linger around all week with your skin off. That'd be improper.
No. Right.
And hello, Wangar. And Phil, still on vacation.
For whoever asked if the art was AI, I don't know if they meant yours or mine, but my art was drawn by Patty. What is it? Patty O'Cakes? Is that his
Patty
name?
O'Cakes.
Patty.
Parlor.
Yeah, from Patty's Parlor. He drew mine.
That you can find on Twitter at that name or on Rumble. Yeah, great guy. Yeah, which I had on my channel before.
Oh yeah, he's been here.
A long time ago. Yes.
Patty gets everywhere. Patty gets around everywhere before me.
A long time ago. Yeah. So, for people who don't know, and I guess some people might not know because we might have a different audience and we have different style of play differently. Army Ginger, she's the queen of the Bro SR. There were those people that were talking about like going back to playing D&D, and they were talking about like a bit like bringing back D&D to its war game route and doing the one time and the Braunstein, which we're not allowed to say too much. We're gonna be allowed to say like twice each, and then we need to move on from that because I'm sick of bringing that word.
Braunstein?
Yes. Now you use one and I used one, so only one more.
All right, one more. Yep.
And what I was listening, I was seeing those people talking about that on Twitter, and I found it interesting. Before I left on my own volition, I wasn't banned.
I swear, I thought you were banned from Twitter. I had no idea you left.
Yeah, I don't know why people would think that.
When the spiciest people on Twitter just disappear, you just make assumptions after a while. You're like, oh, he got a little too spicy. Well,
that was ill on Twitters.
I don't know.
But yeah, I found it interesting that when I was reading what they were saying, a lot of the issue they were talking about were the same kind of issue that we are trying to solve in the 4D roleplay, what we call the 4D roleplay, right? And when you came on the scene, I was glad to finally have somebody like intelligent I could talk to about this theory that wasn't gonna spurg out about some kind of weird random shit. So I said, you know what, I need to have her on so we can like figure that out and see like what are those issues that we are trying to solve with RPG. Right.
Okay. And I don't know what you mean by 4D roleplay. You're going to have to explain that one to me. I haven't been immersed in your side of the scene, I don't think.
All right. I'll be pleased to explain that to you.
All right.
But before we go there, I also want to explain what the 1-1, like, because like a lot of what people talk about is the 1-1 time, right? And I don't want to dwell too long on that, but I've been asked that we should explain that.
Okay. Do you want me to?
I can do it if you want, and you can tell me if I got it wrong. Then you'll see if I figured it out.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
So the concept in 1-1 time is that the time that passed in a game session, you have to wait for real time game for real life time to catch up before you go and play those character again. So if in a session you cover 3 days or 3 weeks, then you cannot play those same character again for 3 days or 3 weeks or whatever, right? It doesn't mean that if something takes, it doesn't mean that if your session is only 4 hours, you can only do 4 hours of in-game time. And it doesn't mean that if a trip takes 3 weeks, you have to wait until you get there, although you might want to. But you have to wait for calendar time in real life to catch up with calendar time in game time. Would that be a fair understanding?
What you said is correct. However, it's very interesting to hear someone frame it that way, because normally when people try to define this, it's not in relation to the character, but in relation to the world. The idea is that the world moves at the same speed as our time in real life. And so if you do take a journey that's going to be 3 weeks, yeah, that's going to be 3 weeks of real time. Now you can spend time on encounters on the way, or you can switch to other characters in a different part of the world. But what 1-to-1 time does is it really makes it about a living world and not so much about your individual character, which is very good sometimes, especially if you end up losing a character for some reason. Then it gives you a very nice way to come back in. Like, people are excited, it seems, to jump into living worlds again with other characters.
Yep.
But yeah, no, what you said is accurate. Now, when you said inside a game session, I thought that you were going to bring that down to the minuscule, like your turn in combat must only take a minute, or
Oh no.
you or if you walk somewhere and it's going to take 2 hours to get there, everyone has to sit there and twiddle their thumbs for 2 hours. Like, that's what I thought you were getting at first, and I was like, oh wow, no. But no, you meant the time that passes beyond that, because generally you can go ahead in time during the game session. You start on the day you start on, but you can go ahead. However, you are kind of time locking the characters with, this is what they're going to do for their next week. We have to wait till time to catch up with them, and then you can go on from there. So yeah, that was a very oddly framed definition, but it was accurate.
No. Because that's the thing, like oftentimes, like I say, like, yeah, I see your point of like locking it to the world, but I like obviously, and it's gonna make sense when I'm framing it from the character side. When I explain what we talk about 4D role play, you're gonna catch up what I frame it that way, because that's what I see the role playing as. But because of that thing, like, you don't necessarily have to wait for the world, but during the session, but like you said, then you're gonna time lock your character. So
yes.
And that's oftentimes like something like, and people do strawman this position a lot, and you can disagree. You can think it's a style that it's not for you. That's fine, right? Yeah. But I hate strawman. If you want to attack somebody's position or style or whatever, and explain why you think it's not accurate or not proper or not appropriate, attack the actual position, right? It's like, otherwise you're just fucking wasting everybody's time, just trying to make yourself look clever. But so sure. But what we include, when we talk about 4D roleplay, basically, like, we have this theory of a dimension of roleplay, like from 1D to 4D, and those are basically level of engagement with the game. We call, like, the 1D player is the guy that is there for just the social interaction. He doesn't really care about the game. It's just an occasion for him to catch up with his friend, eat some pretzel, drink some beer, make some joke, stuff like that. Then you have people that go on the 2D role play, where they're a little more serious about the game, but they're gonna ask questions to the GM, which is a big no-no for us.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Players are not allowed to ask questions to the GM.
Okay.
And I'll explain that a little later. And they also, like, they're not gonna remain in character during the session. And then the 3D role play, those are people that are going to be in character the whole session and that are going to avoid asking questions to GM. And 4D role play is like the 3D role play, but it will also allow some co-creation. So the player can interject mundane stuff into the world.
Okay.
So you don't have to, if you open, you're in a sewing room and you looking for scissor, you don't have to, when we say the player don't ask questions to GM, what do we say? You say,
Right.
don't ask the GM, oh, is there scissor in the room, right? Because like, who the fuck are you asking, right?
Like,
Don't
it's
just say what your characters say. You can say like, I'm looking for scissor, right? There you go. You're describing an action because there's nobody there to ask.
okay.
So
So
that's
the
what we mean
difference
by like,
between
yeah,
the
one is
difference
in
between
character.
what, yes.
Yeah. It's like
So
oftentimes sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right. So it's basically not role playing a little bit, staying in character the whole time, and then staying in character the whole time, but yet adding it into the lore and into the world.
The
What is
adding into the
appropriate
lore
for
and
your
to the
character.
world.
Okay.
We try to limit it to like mundane stuff.
Sure.
So like for the example with the scissor in the sewing room, right? The 2D way to say it would be just asking the question, oh, is there scissor around? And then the GM say yes. And then say, oh, I'll pick the scissor. And then you say what you want to do, right? The 2D way would be like, oh, I'm opening a drawer, I'm looking for scissor. And then GM say, yeah, there's a pair of scissor there. That'd be like the 3D way, which is great. That's good role play. The 4D way, you can just assume that it's sewing room. There is gonna be scissor around, so you can just say open a drawer and pick some scissor that are there, and then you just cut a tiny bit of interaction, so it make the flow a little more cinematic and keep the thing moving faster. But you need to have like good player that are not trying to win at D&D and stuff like that, right? Just like
Sure.
that
Sure.
understand what we're there for. But so
Yeah.
that's what we mean by 4D role play, right? That's 3D and 4D is what we promote here, staying in character. And we say if we do the co-creation, the GM can keep things fluid, and the player can contribute to it. You go to a medieval village. The GM doesn't have to have the map of the whole village drawn out because it's a medieval village. You're gonna find out there what can be expected to be found, right?
Yes.
So
No,
you don't have to
I
ask.
understand.
Yeah.
Kind of, what you're getting at. That's kind of what my players are doing in our there's my second one in our Bronstein game. That's kind of what they're doing because they created gods in the world, and they're actually still controlling both god level characters and their player characters, and basically each one of them gets to act once per month, or not each one, but there's a random one was acting each month because it's very chaotic because there's no god of order, right? But now we have now we kind of are doing something different now because they're voting on who's taking like the major world action each month. Yeah, so I mean they're creating the lore as we go basically, and I'm at the point where like I'll say, all right guys, you guys come up on some ruins. They seem to be like old gnomish ruins. And so then I'll ask the player that controls the gnomes, describe the ruins to us because I don't know. And then he'll run that area kind of on the fly. It's actually very, it's intuitive for some people, but for others, I have a lot of players that I've played games with who probably would not be able to handle a game like that, but it's quite interesting.
Well, that's again already there. We have like some kind of like thing that overlap, and that's exactly what I want to talk about tonight. I think we went around like the position that we start with, the style. I know like it's very different style in a sense, but like what I hear a lot about people saying is like, well, why don't you tell me when you adopted this style, what were those issues that you're trying to solve?
Okay, so I have been playing, I've been running games for several years. I've been running since really the lockdowns in 2020. I've been running like 4 games a week, maybe, for really that whole time. And I mean, before that, I ran some, but never like that, right? Because it was kind of, and everyone was at home. So I started GMing for money, just because I was kind of hitting some hard times at that point. But I started GMing a lot, and the issues I saw were that players were never really seeing the full effects of their actions unfold as they should. And the reason is, like, if we were in a city, which most of my campaigns were city campaigns for a long time, but if they were in a city, time wasn't passing between sessions. We were doing like stop time. And so basically a whole year would go by in the same world, in the real world. And we'd like go through maybe a month in game, which isn't long enough for like a dragon egg to hatch. It's not long enough for like the Law and Order to develop. Like, I had one player who was on trial for impersonating a city official, right? And that's the kind of stuff that could develop over a year of time, but it's not going to develop over a month of time, right? So there were big things that were not developing that I just felt should develop more. Like lords trying to enact laws on the population that weren't, it just wasn't going to happen over a month. Now, I know you can skip time. I know you can do flex time, and some people can have downtime, right? And I did let them have downtime occasionally, but a lot of times they just wanted to play. They were so addicted to playing every day that whenever I said, all right, we're going to do a week of downtime, they were like, oh gosh, what do we do? What is downtime? What do we do for downtime? And maybe some of that was my fault, but I found that it was much, much smoother once I started introducing, all right, now each session's just going to be over a week, and we're going to just go with it at real world time. I'm new to this. You guys are new to this. We're going to figure it out as we go. Here's the stuff I know about it, and I believe I can adjudicate this and figure out how it works. And some things started to develop. Not only things between how player characters were interacting with the world, but also how they were interacting with each other. Like, I have things like players teaming up to do things on their downtime and not tell the other players, which seems a little bit not what you want from a cooperative game. However, over time, having those questions of, are these guys really my friends? Like, that's something you don't want to be asking at like level 2, but that's something like, as things develop through a long period of time and your character is growing stronger, you're getting an army behind you, you're getting your wizard tower built, whatever it is your character's doing, having to ask the questions of, are the other players on my side, becomes more and more important, because your actions are creating more impact on the world. Do you mind if I interact with chat? I didn't ask you that.
No,
can I? Okay.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
You want me to highlight one? There's some
yeah. So, oh gosh, there are a couple. Nicholas Camargo.
Yeah.
Camargo. Okay. Says
This one?
time skipping a big no in Bronstein. So I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to kick me. Right. I'm never gonna be allowed on again. I said the naughty word 3 times. But the answer is that this I'm not describing a Bronstein game for you. So Bronstein play is something that
when you start saying it doesn't stop.
Oh no. I'm so used to it. Oh boy. So I'm not describing that sort of game necessarily. I'm kind of describing the 1-to-1 time version of it. In Bronstein's something completely different. However, it does tend to emerge out of 1-to-1 time if done for a long enough period of time. It is a situation that can happen. That is more of a rules light war game style. And I have been doing a thing where I'm mixing the 2 styles of play. I'm having players play on the high level German college variant, as well as the low level player character level at the same time. It's kind of odd, yeah. But I do need a drink for that one.
So is it like so I guess you would not allow time skip, right? Otherwise you
no.
need, like, yeah.
So
to make it short.
right. Make it short. Okay. So in short, I'm running 2 different campaigns. And when I say campaigns, I have 2 groups operating in one world. There are 2 different DMs there. I only DM one of the groups. And then I have another world where there are 3 groups operating that I'm running all 3 of those. There are absolutely no time skips. Every week is 1 week, and that is crucial to maintaining the balance between all 3 groups. You have to do it that way, I believe. If you have more than one group operating in the same world, then you have to use a very consistent time.
There you go. We have some visitation there.
Oh, hi, T-shirt.
Yeah. The one thing that you said that I found interesting. Well, a lot of things you said was interesting, but like one thing I want to come back now is how you talk about the player asking each other, like, "Oh, is this guy really my friend?" and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
And that's something I like. Like I do tend to run a lot of like confrontational campaign. Like I like having people, like character in the game that have like different motivation that sometimes can work together, sometimes doesn't mesh together. Like I say like PvP is always on, but like I make this our distinction between I say like it's not PvP, it's not player versus player. It should never be because it is a cooperative game. But I will allow character versus character. And
Yeah.
if you as a player is not able to make the distinction, well, you're not ready for my table. I'd say, right? It's sad to say, but that's a point, right? We all here. The collaborative part is not trying to win the scenario, sort of like the collaborative. What we're trying to do is try to have a cool story coming up, and we're all working together for that. And that cool story can include conflict between the protagonists, which are the player character, right?
Yeah. I totally allow player versus player in my game, or character versus character, as you put it. I even have a disclaimer that I give people where I tell them, hey, if somebody from another group sends assassins towards you, or if you do something and provoke some PvP for someone else, you're not allowed to cry about it. You have to be an adult, and you have to just do the adult thing, which is send an assassin back. Like that's just beaming back to them. That's all I can give you. If you're not ready for that level of game, then this campaign is not a good fit for you.
Because like I like how you said you have to be an adult about it, because that's the thing too, right? We're adult playing D&D or whatever RPG we're playing, right? Just like I'm not a D&D guy really. I play other RPG, but we're adult playing those RPG. And a lot of us like started playing when we were like fairly young. But now we're adult playing those games. We shouldn't play in the same way that we're playing when we're like fucking 12-year-old, right? If you want to, like, you're still engaging in that hobby, the hobby should mature with you in a sense, the way you engage with it. I believe that, right? So if you cry about like, oh, like, or if you get all pissy about like this guy, like his character doing something that makes sense for his character, that goes against your character, well then, I'm sorry to say, yeah, you're not the right table. You should go back to the kiddie table.
Yeah, I kind of think that too. I mean, and it's okay to be honest with yourself and be like, yeah, PvP is not really something I can handle. Like I respect that more than people who show up and they're like, yeah, I can handle PvP. That's fine. And then they cry when someone sends an assassin after them. Like it's, but I can I respond to what Nicholas Carmago asked again? Shauner asked a question too. I'd like to get to, but Nicholas says, actually, you know what? I want to respond to Shauner's first, if that's okay.
This one, I guess.
Yeah. How is character sleeping handled? I don't necessarily understand what you mean by that, just because we multiple days can pass in a single session. It just locks the character until that day happens in real life.
I guess the point that because when you were saying like time skip are not allowed, I guess time skip are allowed inside a session.
Yes. So generally,
so that if a character goes sleep, you can type skip inside the session.
Yes.
But if you come back next week to play, you're not saying, oh, now we're 6 months later, right? No, you came back 1 week later. You're 1 week later.
The session can cover anything that happens during that week. 1-to-1 really only refers to the rate at which the real-time calendar passes. So it's mostly out of session. It's mostly 1-to-1 downtime. I sync the calendar up with a real life calendar in my game right now. It is August 2nd in all of my games. It's easy. Every player understands this. But anyway, Nicholas Carmago asked, how do you reach an end to a campaign then? Is it when there's only one side remaining? I really like this question because this is a problem I see, that there is no planned end. But I like that better than a campaign with a planned end, because you can say, all right, this campaign is going to end when they beat the big bad evil priest here, right? But then you are railroading the players then into, okay, that is going to be the story and they're going to have to beat this guy. I don't like that. I like saying the campaign ends when we've reached a point in life where we no longer feel that it is best for us to continue it. I mean, for some groups that can be a couple months. For some groups that can be multiple years. I mean, my longest running groups have been together for several years. I kind of did a bit of a reset into one-to-one time, but I mean, before that, I've had games running for like 4 or 5 years. So I don't know that you need to like approach it with a set end in mind. I think it's better if you don't, because then you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. For me, like, it's not like an end of campaign, but at some point character are done, right?
Yeah. At
They
some point they'll
die,
retire.
they move on, they retire, right? All that jazz. But that's a good segue to another point I want to talk about, which is, you mentioned the railroad, right?
Yeah.
And the story time. And this is also something that we're trying to fight against, right? And it's funny because, like, we're often accused of, oh, you're just story gamer and stuff like that. Say, fuck, man, we don't come to with like the most sandboxy people there is, right? Not only we don't come up with the story ready, but we come up with like a very vague world that get defined by the player interaction and by the play, and we allow co-creation of the player. Like, so we need, as GM in 4D style, to be willing to let off control. And I think that's also something that is true in your style of play, that you need to be allowed, like, to let the player take the lead and be reactive to what the player do. Would I be correct in assuming that?
Yeah, I think so. The players are the main characters. Main characters in most campaigns. Like, I think the world is the main character in one-to-one time campaigns, but the characters are major driving forces, and they need to be proactive in figuring out what to do. I'll give them quest seeds, but like, ultimately it's up to them. They're free to ignore all of them and then start a business if they want, or go hunting down a mad wizard, or they can do what they want to do. They can build their fortress, whatever it is, they need to be pursuing their goals. I will give them like small quests to do, but really the ultimate bad guy in the campaign is going to unfold as a foil to their characters, or even better, based on something they did. And somebody, Zanalar, asked, have you ever had a good end to a campaign? And can I tell a story?
Yes, of course.
All right. Because this is my absolute favorite reactive story that has happened. I had one campaign that was, they were doing a lot of seafaring that campaign. And one of them, I believe it was the evil druid who worshipped something that he called the void, right? One of the players made up his own god that wasn't real in the world, but he said his druid was crazy and worshipped this dark void that would slowly grow to encompass everything, right? So anyway, they met a group of Kuo-toa. And if you don't know what Kuo-toa are, they're my absolute favorite Dungeons and Dragons enemies. And they're in, like, I think all editions, but they have a very particular piece of lore about them where when they truly believe in something, if enough Kuo-toa truly believe in something, they can make it real by accident, but they can make it real. And so, of course, my druid player was telling all of the Kuo-toa to be careful of the void that was expanding, that would swallow everything. And at first it was only a few that he told about this, but they told their friends, and he met more Kuo-toa and told more. And suddenly this became the religion of the Kuo-toa, was this great void. So anyway, this campaign ended with my players at like level 17 or 18. They were like very high level player characters, and they were sitting in a tavern watching this great void slowly expand over their city and getting drunk because they didn't know how to beat it. They didn't even want to beat it. They were like, we caused this destruction and this is how it all ends. And that was probably the best ending to a campaign I've ever had. But generally, the ones that go on for a while, like I think players, when it seems clear that the campaign isn't going to keep going forever, and it's like, all right, this is going to wind down in the next 3 months because I don't know, everyone's getting new jobs or moving on in life, and like people have kids now, then like you can a lot of times like sort of figure something out to tie up some loose ends. But it's not about the ending. It really isn't. It's about the journey to the ending. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, to be honest. And like we do a lot of one shot or two shots, or like very short game, right? Sometimes 3. And even when I do campaign, I usually like them shorter, and I do like a lot of time skip because I also like a more realistic, grounded game where like, oh, you're injured, that's gonna take a long time to heal, right? It's not, you don't go fucking like have a little nap and you're good back fresh, right? Just like, so sometimes you do have to, and I like that. And that's for me like one reason that I'm not too attracted by the one time, because I like the choice that it give the player. Do we take some time, because the world keep on moving, right? That's very important, and that's also something we would agree with. The world keep on moving. The world, it's not like in Skyrim where the world just move when in a bubble around the player, and then like when the player's not around, everybody's just on old, right? You don't want to do that. The world keeps on moving. And I like when the characters have a choice to make as to, do we take some time to rest and heal, or do we press on? Because if we take some time to heal, we also leave some time to this threat to become worse. But if we don't take some time, we're less equipped so then like you have this choice there. And I think in the one time, that choice might be a little bit attuned or diminished. You think that'd be a fair criticism?
I'm not sure
how would you handle that?
I'm not sure that it's really a criticism I agree with. I understand what you're saying, that you're making strategic choices as to whether we take some time and figure things out before we tackle a threat, or do we go do it now? You still have that choice in one-to-one time games. You just don't choose the flow of time. If you want to take some time and figure things out, get your strength back, make a new weapon, copy down some spells, or whatever it is you want to do, basically to gear up and do some stuff before you tackle a threat, you can do that in a one-to-one time game. But at the same time, the longer you take to do so, the enemies, they're also doing stuff. They might get better reinforcements, or they might get raided by another group. There are multiple groups acting in the same world, remember. So if you are waiting to gear up to go tackle a certain threat, another group might get there before you, and they might die. You might get to loot their gear.
But what if the choice of waiting, like you would need 3 weeks to do this one thing, and that should mostly be handled in downtime because it's not very something that is interesting to role play, stuff like that, right? Just like, then wouldn't mean that, oh, then we're time locked in a sense, because like, oh, we're gonna take this ship for 3 weeks or whatever. Like, yes, you could like
you're time locked.
You're time locked.
You're time locked.
So now you introduce a different. So if I want to take 3 weeks to do something, build a palisade around the town, right? Oh, it's gonna take like,
yeah.
That mean like I'm not playing for the next 2 weeks with those characters at least.
Well, yeah, you can make a new character. Have you everybody has backup characters, right? Like, does everybody not? That's the thing. My players love doing that. They always have like 10,000 character ideas, and it's like, all right, he's going to be tied up for this long. doing this thing. So do you have another character to play this week? And it works really well because then they have another character that's a little bit more powerful for when their main character dies doing something stupid. They can jump on that one anyway. So they haven't lost nearly as much as others. So I mean, you can definitely run multiple characters.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that in the past, but I don't anymore. Just because like we're not like. Also, like I invest myself a lot in characters, so switching from back and forth like can be like a very demanding, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes it's a nice break. Some people like that more than others do.
Yep.
Sometimes it is a nice break. However, at other times it can be not so great for some people. However, there are other things you can do. Like if you want to do things with your character during session that isn't build a palisade, you can take a break from that as long as you're not going and traveling out to a dungeon. You can bring that character in a little bit, but not, I mean, most of the time he's going to be doing his thing, right? But you can definitely make a backup or control a temporary character. Like there are other things you can do. My players love their backup characters. So
yeah. Also, like, you know, like I don't know. I'm like I'm with my character like I'm with my woman, right? Just like I always love the last one the best. And I'm a kind of one character kind of guy.
Yeah. I see. I'm also a person whose favorite movie is the last one I've seen, so I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And the other thing also that I think we can share some commonality about. I should probably look some at chat. Let me look at some chat before we go too far, because some people like
there's some good questions.
And sometimes I just this one is easy. So like Crispy ask the quote or the aquatic monster. Yes, they're fish people. Yeah.
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 They're fun
and
to use.
Question above that: do your character rely on your seeds, or do they sometimes create their own adventure hooks?
So at first, early in a campaign, a lot of times they are a lot more reliant on quest seeds. Most of the time, those quest seeds are randomly generated, and I'm mostly just doing those to get their characters a little bit acquainted with the world and get them kind of comfortable until they find something that they're like, this is what I want to focus on. Like when they find something that spurs their character to go on a personal quest, then I don't really have to drop quest seeds anymore, and I've kind of got them right. Yep. But before they're trying to figure out exactly what their character is doing in the world, a lot of times I'll spur them on with like small, I don't know. I think today when I was running, they had like a small random quest hook that was like, go burn a necromancer's bones in a graveyard or something. That was fun, but
yeah. And then you see, there's something also I agree with. Like I said, like oftentimes when you start a campaign, you do have to get the ball rolling a bit. So you want to give like something for the because, and then after that, if you have a good player which are proactive and stuff like that, you can mostly like let them take, because now they have like their own objective they want to do. They have like unfinished business. They haven't people they interacted with, people that wronged them, you know, and then you can let them take the driver's seat, and you can just like fucking sit back.
Yeah, because they'll make their own quests at a certain point. But a lot of times they don't in the beginning, and so for a while I have to give them some quest hooks to get them going. Yeah.
Yeah. Crispy was saying earlier, like that's when we talk about like the what role playing is, like we saying like where you are and what your character is doing and saying. That's usually what we say, like you do in a turn, right? You say where you're at, what you do, and what you say. And if you did in your turn, you did great. So how would you define role play? Like what is it for you, like role playing? What does it encompass, and what is excluded?
I think to role play, you have to be able to have an effect on the world or the story. It is how your character interacts with the world or the story. I think it is not role play. This might be controversial. I don't think that making character builds is role playing. I think role playing requires
controversial here.
Okay, maybe not. I don't know. I think role play requires you to act to interact in some way with the other players or the world or something like that. You have to be able to have an effect on things, or it's not role playing.
Do you have a
Mhm.
do you have a preference about like people like role playing in first person or third person? Is that something that bothers you?
I don't particularly have a preference with that. So I personally role play in first person. Whenever I'm role playing NPCs, when I'm role
Yeah.
playing NPCs, I
NPCs.
go back
Yeah.
and forth. Sometimes I'll describe what they do. Sometimes I'll do it in first person. But NPCs I usually do in third person. PCs I usually do in first person. But that's a personal thing. It doesn't bother me at all if I have a player who says, yeah, my fighter is going to go hit the guy with his sword, and then he's going to raise his fist to the air and let out a triumphant battle cry. Like, that's
Oh, you
just
see,
fine.
that would be like a hard
Um,
no for me. Especially if you say my
see,
fighter instead
mhm.
of said the name of the character.
I
If you refer to
yeah,
the
see
yeah,
that doesn't bother me too much.
yeah. Oh,
I'm kind of I think I try to encourage subtly people to role play in first person, but if somebody comes to my table and they don't do it that way, that isn't a deal breaker. That doesn't bother me. They can interact with the game how they feel comfortable with. That doesn't take me out of it really. I think I just sort of encourage it. And a lot of
yeah.
people end up, when other people are playing in first person, they will end up switching to first person without even really thinking about it. So I do think that the table environment kind of changes that behavior, but
Not only I
yeah.
can encourage people to roleplay in first person, I can't demand it, but I don't really have to demand it because it's like and like it's been so long since I had somebody role playing in third person that
Mhm.
it'd be weird for me to just be like when I'm GMing for the NPCs, yes, I do them in third person because
Yeah.
oftentimes I control more than one, stuff like that. So it's just like a little clearer. But if you control your character, not only I want you to talk in first person, but I want you to see the world in first person. I don't want you to
Yeah.
imagine the world from outside. Like if there's a camera that from up high or from the side, like no, I want to see the world from first person. And that's also part of the reason why I don't like battle map. I don't like VTT, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Because then it gives you like a point of view from up high, which is nonsensical, right? And people say, "Oh yeah, but then you can know where everybody is and stuff like that." I say, "Well, first, if everybody in their turn say where they at and what they do and what they say, you kind of have an idea where people is. But also in a combat, it'd be messy, and you wouldn't know necessarily where everybody is at all time, right? And sometimes your turn can be, I look around, seeing where people are, right? I'm reassessing the situation, stuff like that, and that's an okay turn.
Mhm.
That means like you're in character and you're seeing the scene through the eyes of your character, and that's what I want. And for me, that's a big part of what role play is: staying in character, seeing where you're at, seeing what you do, seeing what you say, and you can really touch and sing the world to the eyes of character, overriding your own mindset with the mindset of that character. You're not yourself anymore. You override your own thought process with the thought process of this guy or girl that is not you, and you haven't touched it. You really touch at the essence of role play when you're starting to having this emotional alignment. So obviously there's gonna be a damper. It's not like 1-to-1 for the emotion, but like what your character would feel there, you feel now, and that's for me that's what you can get from role playing game that you cannot get from those other hobbies, right?
Mhm.
It's something that like having the chance to experience being somebody else, living those emotions, having this excitement, stuff like that. That's for me like that's what I'm looking for in this hobbies in this hobby.
Yeah. I think what you're getting on is the debate as to whether RPGs, and I think it's different for many RPGs, uh, are about role playing or are about tactical combat. And I
Yep.
think you and a lot of people, because I know there's been a slight controversy recently when Jeffro Johnson said that AD&D is not a tactical combat game,
Oh really?
and yes, he did. He said that. And that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, or maybe just some people. I saw a few people jump in on that. And I think what he was getting at there was it's not about using maps or minis. It's about going back and forth. It's not individual initiative. You can't choose who you're attacking. You just say, I swing my sword, or I run forward and attack. You don't get to choose who you're attacking. It's just whoever you end up attacking, right? Which is actually fairly true to life. And I think that's kind of more what he was getting at. Like, this isn't a tactical combat game. This is like a role-playing game. And yeah, no, I think I think you're making at least a tangential argument to that. Not necessarily the same argument, but
I find it very interesting because like that's one thing that like I said, like I feel like there's a lot of issues that we identify with the traditional way of playing, like what would be like traditional or like mainstream way of playing role playing game. Like we see there's a lot of issue there. And I think a lot of the issue that we like both our side, if we want to put it that way, identify the same issue. But I always had the feeling that we were going about solving them in completely opposite different direction, right? We say we're gonna lean like that's before you said that was my impression. I say we're gonna go solving them by leaning very hard into the role playing side, and your side, but maybe I was wrong about that, would say we're gonna solve those by leaning much more into the gaming side or wargaming side, right? Oftentimes, like, and that's the thing, like that's gonna be a second time now when people talk about the Braunstein, that it's almost because like Braunstein was a word, like I don't know, I said three time, was not a role playing game. It was a war game.
Can
but
something not be both?
That's what I'm about to say. The thing is,
yeah.
Back in the days when like what's his fucking name? John what was his name? The guy that did the War of the World thing. And the
And the Time Machine. Wells, yeah, H.G. Wells.
H.G. Wells, yeah, I forgot the initial. H.G. Wells. When H.G. Wells like made up war game, right? Well, war game always kind of existed like as a military thing and stuff like that, but like he brought it as a game for people. But back in the days, war games had a lot of role-playing element to it because they were campaign and you were meant to play this general and you were trying to solve the question like, well, if I was in this battle with those circumstances that are historical, how would I like could the outcome be different, right? And you're supposed to consider your people and stuff like that. Modern war game evolved a lot, and now the modern war game just became like there's no strategy anymore. It's all about tactic because like they're just like self-contained battle and stuff like that. So it's a very different hobby than it used to be. But I think the old style war game, and even when you do war game for the military and stuff like that, you do have a role-playing element in the sense that you have to put yourself in the head of whatever faction or leader of faction that you're and you have to understand that this like that you have to if you do like a war game between like, oh, what if there was a conflict between an open conflict between Russia and Germany or whatever, and then you have to put yourself in the head of that, well, the Russian don't think like us, very different people, they have different value, they have different moral, they have different, so you have to be able to transpose yourself into that. So that's a role-playing element right there.
Yes.
But when in modern war game, you often don't have that because the general is just basically you, right? You don't have like this character that you're playing.
So when it comes to modern war games, going more into tactics and leaving behind grand strategy, I think you need to look into a different type of war game. I think looking at multiplayer 4X games would solve those problems in particular. One I very much like to play that I've played a lot is Twilight Imperium 3. Yeah. Those games, while
Shauner's
they
favorite
are
board game.
Oh, is it? Or does he hate it? You say it like he hates it. Oh,
no,
really?
he loves it.
Oh, okay. I thought that was sarcastic. But
no,
those
I'm never sarcastic.
Those games, you actually have the interactions with other players, and these are kind of more like the B word games that that we were talking about, where you have players that are growing their fleets, they're proposing laws, they're voting on laws, they have reasons to interact with each other, and they also each have their own factions that have very distinct personalities. Like, I mean, there's like the cat people who are traitors, and the space pirates, right? You have a lot of different factions that all have personality ingrained into them, and players have to negotiate. You know why you have to negotiate? Because if you don't negotiate with anyone else, you lose. And so that has role playing built into it, and it's not a role playing game. It is a it's. I've been told it's not a war game. I'm afraid to call it a war game. I don't want that backlash again.
It's like
It's a board
board
game.
game.
It's like it's a 4X board game. And so I think that if you look into 4X games, like Twilight Imperium's not the only one. There are a lot of them. But if you look into 4X games, you get back that strategy that you were talking about losing in modern war games.
Also, there was one thing about that if you do like war game for military purpose, right? You're trying to figure out like that's, even though there's like a competitive element in it, because you're trying to win for your faction, but there's also a cooperative element because the goal is to figure out what would happen, right? So you have to role play your faction as good as you can according to the faction. So that again bring back the role playing element, but that's also something we lose in a lot of like modern, like the way that the war game, like those two hobbies kind of like evolved differently. Like they were much closer back then, and now they evolved differently. But I would say that back then, war game they did add role playing element. They weren't role playing game as we understand them now, and now they're definitely not. I would that would be my point.
Yeah, of course.
You ever played the Dune
I
board
just
game?
think it's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Have you ever played the Dune board game?
I have. Yeah, it was. So it's actually by the same designers as my favorite board game. My favorite board game of all time is Cosmic Encounter.
Oh, I never
was
played
made
this
in
one.
the 70s. Oh yeah. It was their best board game. Dune was their second best.
Oh, really? Dune is my favorite, but I'm also like a big Dune fan.
So it has a lot of the elements of my favorite game, which is Cosmic Encounter. It was basically Cosmic Encounter, but like but put it with more phases in there and a little bit. I would like to say. So I think that Cosmic Encounter, Dune, and Twilight Imperium are the same games on different levels. Cosmic Encounter is like the 2-hour simple version. And Dune is like somewhere in between, and then Twilight Imperium is the all-day version. I think they're the same game, but like in different complexity and time levels.
Yeah, I don't play them that much because they're hard to bring to the table because they're very interesting if you're a large group.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I find it hard to find like a.
Yeah, they're all like 5 to 6 player. I think is the golden spot. War-ish games, diplomacy, playing the table game. I don't want to call them war games, board games. Yeah.
Crispy was saying we're also like very careful when GMing not to move PCs or tell what they think and feel. That's a very important point that we say. Like that's when we talk about like role playing in first or role playing in third. The one you should absolutely avoid is role playing in second person. Saying, "Oh, you do this," or "You think that," or it's like, yeah.
Oh, I would never.
Yeah, we agree on that as well.
I hope not. Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with full player autonomy. They can do whatever they want. I have very few rules for what they cannot do in my games.
Yeah, like that's right. Like fucking GM, we get to control a lot. We got to control the NPC. We got to control the world to some extent. It's like we don't need to control the character, the protagonist. On top of that, that's something for the player.
Oh yeah, that's all them.
Yeah.
I try not to restrict them too much.
Phil, I had a question for you. Do the god characters have a season that is their domain? There are in game reason that the gods take turns.
Yeah. Okay. Let me answer this one. I love this answer. Okay. So the gods in my campaign, all of the players, they were each responsible for making one god in the pantheon. What they did was they rolled up 3 random domains out of a list of 20 domains that I came up with for gods. I used a lot of the classic ones and added enough to make it an even 20. They drew 3 of them. I put it as cards rather than a roll. And they picked 2 of those 3 to be the domains of their god. And then they made their gods based on that. So we have like 7 or 8 different gods in the world. And they are taking turns with, okay, so basically, after the campaign started, there is only enough magic in the world for 1 divine action. And what we were doing before is I was rolling it randomly. And basically, I rolled every god, and then if I think I rolled a d8, and if I rolled an 8, it was a random world event would happen instead, and no one would be able to have control of it. It would be like up to rolls of the dice. And so what was happening was one god was acting each round, but they decided to harness the chaotic magic of the world in order to vote for, in order to basically make this divine council of gods. And once they did that, they were able to vote for which gods got to take the actions each month. And this is the first month they're doing that. They finally got the votes to form the council. And so now they can harness the divine power of the land and channel it to whoever they want. So now it's kind of they're taking turns, which they have to because they need the votes in order to act, right? So right now, I don't want to say who's winning the vote because I don't know if any players are watching. I don't think they are, but they might watch the recap. But anyway, so they're voting now. But if there is a tied vote, it doesn't matter. Like I told them, they can vote for themselves if they want to, too. They don't have to vote for another player. They can vote for themselves. But if there's a tie, then nobody gets the divine action, and instead there is going to be a random event.
Yep.
So yeah, they have to diplomatize in order to get their chance to take an action now, which is working out pretty well. We might add more rules to it. It kind of depends on the players. I'm going to kind of let it shake out and try to be a little bit hands off with it. So we'll see.
So your player like interact with the system like do they fight a lot about it, or just like they just like went to like did they happen a lot that you have to do those random events?
So they just started with the Divine Council. This is
okay.
their first month. Yeah, they finally got the votes to do it. So this is their first month. And Zonalar asked, when you say take an action each month, are we talking in-game months or real-time months? The answer is yes.
The same.
They're the same.
So, come on, Zonalar, pay attention.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. So for the month of, so these are like big divine actions that can be anything that a god could do, basically, but they can make one major change to the world. So it's been kind of wild. Last month, the god of chaos won the role, and she elected to switch 2 random hexes on the board. So we rolled 2 hexes on the world map and swapped them. One of them was like off in the ocean, and one of them was half of the dwarven lands. So like the dwarves just lost half of their mountain and gained a lake, and like there is an enclave of dwarves who has no idea what happened because they suddenly got shunted to the middle of the ocean.
What you just said there is very interesting because it leads me to those next 2 comments, because you talk about X, right? Random X on the world. And there's this thing here that that's something that we preach here. The definition of the world is increased through the player interaction with it. That's something that we often say. Like, we're not just like, I don't come to the table with a map, right? And the characters can, and the players therefore, but the players through their character can get information about the world by interacting with the world or interacting with NPCs, or they can just make up stuff. If something has not been defined, it's probably not important, because if it was important, I would have told them. They can say like, oh, we can travel to this city down south and name it and whatever, and then that's fine. There's the city down south, right? So that's what we talk about, like the definition of the world increased through player interaction with it. And it goes to the other comment there by Nicholas. How much prep do you do or have to do as a GM in your style? And the prep thing is the next thing I wanted to talk about. It's one of the next thing I want to talk about, right? Because that's also one of the big things that we're trying to solve with this 4D thing is to, I'm a very low prep GM. You can almost call no prep GM. Like I'm gonna come up with a premise, and that's it, right? Oh, there's this thing. This is the kind of world we are in. Very vague, so you can make assumption about it, and they're gonna hold true. And there's gonna be an initial conflict, and some conflict in the world that is bigger than you, maybe, right? Something just to make something interesting. And then we go there. I don't know what it's gonna end. I don't have a big bad necessarily at the start of the session. I don't, I'm gonna make it as we go. And I'm a big believer of the GM shouldn't do most of the talking during a session. That's a big thing. Like, a skill that fucking most GM need to learn is to shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so it'd
That's
be interesting to have your take on that prep, and tell us about the prep that you do before a session, before a campaign, stuff like that. While you
Yeah.
answer, I'm just gonna step away for a second. I'm just gonna get my dog in, but can still hear you, so
okay.
I'm listening.
I think the number one thing I do to prep, the most important prep you can do, I think, is learn good book control. Learn to bring up random tables, bring up information that you need, be able to go through rules very quickly if you need to look anything up. However, other than that, most of my prep is just sometimes I like to roll up quest seeds in random quest generation books. But other than that, I don't do a whole lot of prep. I really go on the I err towards low prep, definitely. And the reason is I used to be a fairly high prep GM, and that was, first of all, very unsustainable long term, especially when you're running multiple games. But also, the big thing about prep is if you prep something, then players will feel compelled to do the thing that you prepped. And so by prepping things, that is one way to railroad your players. Is players want to be polite. They know that if my GM put time into prepping this adventure, I should do this adventure because I don't want my GM to feel bad about putting in the time to prep it. And that is a good thing. They are polite people. But at the same time, that also means that if you are prepping a certain adventure, then you probably shouldn't be if you want your players to have full autonomy. Like, I generally prep things on the fly. The other day, my entire prep was 5 minutes before the game. I'm like, oh gosh, what can I do? Maybe they'll see a meteor. Yeah, that'll be a cool random event. They'll see a meteor. And so they saw like a falling star, a meteor, and they're like, we're going to go follow it. And I'm like, oh gosh, what is it? I don't know what this thing is. And so like they get up to it and I'm like, it is a rock. And I'm deciding like what's happening. And I had it like dominate every low intelligence being around it. So all these fish were around it in the middle of the pond, like speaking to them in the same voice together. And they're like, this is weird. And they eventually decided to kill it. So I was like, I guess it's like a, I don't know, like a hard elder brain or something. So I don't know. It was so dumb.
See, that's again like something that we tend to agree on. Like you say, like, yeah, if you prep something, the player will want to go on it. And I also say, if you prep something, you will want to shove it down the throat of your player, right? Just like,
yeah.
And it's like, avoid a temptation. Don't come up with your like box text and stuff like that. First, the players are not there to be audience. The player are co-creator of the game, of what's happening, of the story that's unfolding, right? They control the fucking protagonist. That's a big part of what's happening there in the table, in that story that we're figuring out together, right? That's the game. The game is figuring out the story together. You're not coming here to my table for me to tell you a story. And I'm not there to try to impress you with my prose, right? Oh, look, I read this fucking cool box text. And so now I'm going to read it to you, right? Just like, that'll be fucking weird. Like, I'm not inviting you to my house to read you a story.
Yeah.
Like, what are you again? Like, are you like, is it like bedtime story time with MrMax? No, we're making it up as we go, right? Just like, and I often say, yes, the coolest thing you can think on the fly might not be the coolest thing that you might have thought of, but it's still gonna be cooler than the thing you have prepped because you thought of it on the fly.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I definitely roll a lot from random tables, which I'll be the first to say that random tables come up with more interesting things than I do a lot of times. But for the most part, I don't prep. I sometimes I do a little bit, but like my prep is less than 30 minutes a game, and like 99% of it is adjudicating downtime activities. because a lot of times they don't need to. A lot of times they can do their own. Like most of them are roles. They know how to roll these things. They know the DCs. I can be fairly hands off sometimes on downtime, but sometimes I do have to adjudicate some of that. But also, like a lot of it's how can I get their downtime activities to come in and coalesce into something else. Yeah.
That's something that we're gonna disagree on, because I don't like rolling on random table.
Oh, you don't really?
No, I'm not against random table,
Okay.
but I don't like. I'm gonna read them when I read the
Mhm.
rules, right? And then
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep them in the back of my mind. And I'm just gonna roll. I'm not gonna roll during session to find. Like, I'm just gonna pick one. Like, oh, you know what? I read that. That would be cool right now, right? Just like,
Hmm.
and because it's not about fairness. It's not about like it's about like
Sure.
like it's about coming up with something interesting, right? Having a cool, interesting session at the table. Like,
Yeah. I find that a lot of times encounters that I would have skipped over as this sounds kind of lame and boring, whenever they do come up at my tables, a lot of times they don't go over how it would have in my head at all. And they can be a lot more interesting when played out, because things you don't expect, even as the GM, can happen from them. So,
yeah, I'm not
Mhm.
like I said, I'm not against
Sure.
random table. I just don't roll on like I kind of like
Yeah.
roll in my head, right? I pick something like randomly in my head, just like, ah, that'd
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
cool right now. Or that'd be
Sure.
fine right now. It's something something needs to happen now. Okay, this happened, right? Just like uh
Um,
and yeah, go ahead.
oh, no, no, please.
No, I thought you were still going to say something. I was going
Okay.
to go somewhere
I
else.
was going to address something that someone said in the chat because I think it's an interesting point. Um,
Which
uh, so Rune here says random tables are outsourced prep because someone researched and made the table. I mean, I think you could say the same thing about novels and inspiration. Like, so nothing is original. Every idea you have derives from something else anymore. So I don't see that as an issue at all. I think random tables, like you're playing the game, somebody made the game. You're not being entirely original with that. And the random tables are part of the game. And I think the game a lot of times um, is how you react to the things that come up. And I think seeing the DM like on their toes, like seeing the DM run something that they didn't prepare to run, they don't know how to run. They're like, oh, I guess there is a Yeti in this cave. Okay, how do I run this, right? Or sometimes you like roll a monster that you actually need a layer for, and coming up with that on the fly. I think everyone deserves to see their DM like try something like that.
yeah, I think what Arun said though is very fair. Not necessarily saying that's a bad
Okay,
thing, because like if you were to make your own random table, that would
sure.
definitely fall into prep.
Yeah, and I have before.
So if you use somebody
Mhm.
else random table, then yeah, it is outsourced prep.
I
Then like
mean,
doesn't necessarily
I
mean it's
use
bad, but it is
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I use somebody else's rules
Oh,
too.
there you go. Even say
And
I don't
yeah,
think it's an
so
issue, right?
mhm.
I just think yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Okay. I see what you're saying, Rune. I don't think you're coming at me or anything. But I mean, I don't really that's not what I'm talking about when I say I run no prep. So much when I run no prep, I don't prep things for individual sessions. However, I do prep as far as learning the rules goes,
Yeah.
and finding random tables and learning to use learning to roll on the correct random tables, learning book control, being able to go to the right part of whatever book I need to roll on, that like that's the kind of prep I do. The kind of prep I don't do is all right, let me get this dungeon map out, and I think there are these traps here, this traps here, these monsters over here, and this witch is in charge of everything. Like that's stuff I do during the session.
I talk a bit like I talked about
Mhm.
against like a tactic battle map and VTT and stuff like that, but how do you fall on that? I didn't even ask you your and point on that.
I go back and forth. So I do use tactical maps sometimes, but other times I don't. It sort of depends on the group and what I'm running, and I go back and forth on it. Um, it kind of depends on my mood, to be honest.
Oh, really?
If I do have a map, it's one I just pulled on the spot. Sometimes I show art that I pull on the spot, but yeah, I'm not very consistent on that. I don't I don't know that it so I think that in AD&D it doesn't matter. In games that are more tactical, it kind of does sometimes. It is nice to have like a vibe map sometimes, but I'm not super. I don't have strong feelings about that one, and I'm not super consistent on how I run it.
Oh, really? I find like those games that are more tactical and work better with battle map. Oftentimes, I feel like they kind of go back to board game, which I have nothing
Yeah.
against. Right, I love board
No,
game as
yeah.
well. But when
I'm
I'm
a
playing a
board
role
gamer,
playing, I'm looking
so
for something else. Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Crispy said that that's a perfect difference between us. I don't think we have had anyone looking in a book during a game, and that's true. We don't. We do our session bookless.
I'll look things up a lot of times. Like while the players are talking, I have a bunch of PDFs that I'm looking through a lot of times trying to figure out what I want to do next, or I'll read stat blocks or do something like that. Or
I guess
a lot
we
of
also
times
like
I'm preparing.
we pulled a stack block before, or yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
something we would look up in the game, but we never get look up a rules of stuff like that, right?
Yeah, sometimes I'll look up rules or stat blocks or tables or something like that. Sometimes I've gone completely bookless, and I do occasionally, but I mean, I read stat blocks at the very least, I think so.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I also like make that on the spot. To be fair.
Yeah. I try
John was
not
saying
to.
testing that 4D mug. Yes, I do. I do have my role playing in the 4-dimension mugs, which you can get on the link below. I'm shilling now. But Crispy was saying we do a lot of the front-loaded prep in session 0. And I guess that would also be true with you, right?
Yeah. I guess. So I do have session zeros with like groups of randos, which this is where we disagree because I know you hate running with groups of randos. I'll run with groups of randos.
I don't really like
I don't
people.
care. Yeah, I like meeting new people. I've met some like really great people from groups of randos. I really have. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Although I'm actually good at the what do you bring to when you do when you're gonna start a new campaign? What do you bring to your to the prospective player or to the players that you have?
In real life or online? Because I'm about to start my next campaign that I'm going to start is a face-to-face, real meet people campaign. So,
is that different if you do it in person or online?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you mean by what do I bring? Like, are you talking
Like I mean,
about
like as a no as a concept? Like do you like you say, oh, I want to run this game. This is gonna be about that. This is gonna be the team. This is gonna be
like a pitch? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll pitch the campaigns to the players. I'll be like, all right, this is how this is gonna work. We're gonna be in a big world that is alive, and it's gonna be huge, and you can do anything you want, but it is up to you the level of risk that you're going to take on. You can die. PvP is fine. Like I go over stuff like that, and then I let them kind of talk through what they want their characters to do. You know.
Do you let them talk about what they want the world to be?
Yeah. So in my Godstein game, that was all the players. They decided everything about the world. In my other games, the games that I am willing to run for randos, a lot of times I'll mostly be in charge of like what the main world is, but anytime they want to add like a town or lore for their character's tribe or anything, most of the time that's cool. Like they can add their own piece of lore. So like I said, for my big game that I post about on Twitter, my Godstein game, am I allowed to say Godstein? That's not too close to the B word, right? All right. So for my Godstein game,
can you at least say Stein? Not Stein.
Okay, I get shit no matter how I say it. You don't understand?
It's the German word, right? We're not talking about like
yeah, but like
it's like
yes.
Brownstein is like brownstone.
Yes.
It's the name of a place.
I get shit no matter how I say it. Because I said Steen before. I'm like, I'm not sure if it's Steen or Stein. And then And then people were like, it's Stein. And so I started saying Stein. And then you know what happened when I started saying Stein?
People say it's, yeah.
People
say
get on
Stein.
Twitter. People get on Twitter and they're like, look at this girl who just got bullied out of using her regional accent. Like, damn it, no. But
So yeah, in Gottstein.
yeah, so my
No, sorry. I should have
no, that's what happened. That's actually what happened. Like people are like, this girl just got bullied out of using her regional accent. Like, why would you not stand strong? Support your regional accent. You can say Steen. That's the people.
You know,
are
like,
saying
have you ever seen like
but-
Young Frankenstein by Mel Brooks? It's the old joke,
Yeah.
like, oh, you're Dr. Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's like that, right? I forgot the point I was making.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I forgot the point I was making. But oh yeah. My God Steam players have great control of the world. So yeah, they're able to do about anything they want. But yeah, no, I think I'm like firmly on the Steen train. I think it's Steen.
Already.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's Steen.
That could be a whole debate.
Yeah. It's my regional accent. What can I say? Right.
Crispy was also asking, do you insist that your player read and know the rules of the game system that you're using?
Not at first.
Really?
I will put up with a certain level of rules and competency for a while. And that is because I am very okay with new players. I enjoy introducing players to games, and I'm also very good at explaining games and explaining how things work. So my rule is basically I will correct you and I will run the rules as written. So if you get something wrong or if you don't want to read the rules and you don't want to understand how they work, as long as you're cool when I correct it, I don't particularly care. Now, I do expect a certain level of competency that comes with time. I think if you're in a campaign of mine for multiple months, it is your it's your duty to read the rules. You should learn how the game works. However, by the first game, if you show up and you don't understand how ammo is tracked or something, I don't care that much. We'll learn it together. We'll get you better at it.
You see, like I think for us that's like and we change system a lot, right? That's also something I want to talk about.
Yeah.
But that's something that's quite bad form, right? Like because we're not allowed to ask questions, like the player's not allowed to ask questions to the GM. So if you don't know the rules, right, you better know the rules before you show up to the session. And we often gravitate toward like more rule-based game, and even when we play like a more complex game, we often don't use all the rules necessarily. Like some of the rules like don't apply to what we're doing right now, right? So just like we can let them go, right? But still, like you expect to know the rules when you come to the table.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that, my Gingers. Black Lodge game. Ginger Fraser showing up in the chat. Yeah. Max Schilling, hell yeah. There you go. And now you don't feel so alone of being the shit.
Yeah, I'm talking to him this weekend. I'm excited.
Yeah, on Sunday. I heard about that.
Yeah.
I think I'm having a show on Sunday again, so I might not be able to attend.
I've been reading his supplement. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying
probably gonna back it, even though I'm against supplement.
Yeah. I mean,
I want a bedtime story with MrMax. You're gonna have a fucking nightmare. Yeah. So there was another thing like what do you just talk about? Like I got distracted now. There's and also like I'm starting to be quite wind up.
Xanalar just gave me permission to say Steen, so I think I'm good.
Oh yeah, and he's German, so Well, I guess
Mhm.
it's Swiss German. So does that count? They speak weird over there.
Yeah. Um,
Oh,
then,
that's a fair
yeah.
point. I butcher the English language every roleplay session, and I guess maybe I'm not the one to say how people how to pronounce things. Maybe I should be more much humble myself on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I like
The what?
I like his spelling of it.
Yes.
But I do like this question. Do the Godstein games have any stakes, or are they just for fun? Do they have competitive tones or more just friendly tones? So it's actually funny when you get a whole group of really friendly people that get along together. You don't need them all to be competitive to have a competitive game. You need one person to be competitive because one guy will cause enough trouble for everybody to go from the get along gang to just at each other's throats. You really just need one troublemaker, I think, to make it a competitive game. And thankfully for us, we have that troublemaker. He has already destroyed an entire city. We have two troublemakers, really. So yeah. But yeah, no, you don't need a super competitive group. You just need one guy.
Yeah.
And
And then,
that'll just knock the
but
whole
is
group
that something
over.
that's desired? You want that competitiveness?
Um, I'm not sure that I think I prefer it. I prefer there to be some level of competition, some level of PvP, but it's not a requirement. Like if they can work together, well, that was always a potential outcome of it. Like if you give players full autonomy, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to fight. Sometimes they just find ways to work together. And sometimes as the GM, you're like, "Oh, can you guys just fight?" But at the same time, that's their prerogative. And maybe there is every incentive in the world to fight, but your players just want to get along and be friends. And you're just like, all right, well, that's going to happen, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
And oh man, I added back. Do you and now you're doing this game with a 5e, right?
yeah, this one's with 5e. I don't really, so I mostly run 5e. I'm currently playing Classic Traveler. Now I run like 5e kind of as written earlier before it got like
Yeah.
gay. But
You can
can I
say
say
that.
that? Okay.
We usually say fag around, you know.
Oh, okay.
Kidding.
But yeah, I run the version of 5e before it got
Yeah.
very
I'm
gay.
not a 5e
But
hater. I think like
yeah,
the
yeah.
core book was not my favorite, but it was a decent system, right? It was functional.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's a lot of a game that was, you can tell it was designed by committee, and there's some like good
Mm-hmm.
idea that have been put back into the optional rules, but it's a design
Yeah.
that fight with itself a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm not a 5e hater, so yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I use it because it's mostly what my players know. And I've
Mhm.
been adding a lot of things like B word integration and one-to-one time. So to me, I didn't want to also add like a new system on top of that because these are like big concepts for people to get used to. So I kind of went with what people knew.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's all right. And
Um,
now you're playing like classic Clavera as well.
Yeah, I am. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun. I
You're
played
playing a
a
lot of
lot of
the
RPGs. I usually just run a couple just because I like to be very familiar with the system to run it. And mostly that's been a couple different versions of D&D, but I mean, I don't know. I tried to run Pathfinder before. It went fine.
Mm.
Um, but
Yeah.
Xanalar asked how I vet my players. Like for my
Yes,
God's
I wanted to talk
yeah.
about that because we also talk about
Mhm.
the like Zonara ask how do you vet players, Harmony? What do you look for out for to protect your table? And you also like run like you're also like a paid GM, so you run like paid game and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I have done those since 2020. I actually haven't started a new paid game in a long time
Oh,
because they're just ones that have continued from 2020. They've just been going forever because, the group became friends. Right in every case, actually. I so here's what I do. There is a really good way to vet players online. So my Godstein game, these are all players that have known each other for years. Like these guys were already good with each other going into that. But when I vet players, what I do is I would run short campaigns, so like maybe 1 to 3 sessions, and I would invite people to those. And then whenever those were finished, I would take the best players from those and invite them into a bigger campaign. And that way you run like maybe between 2 and 4 of those small, like 1 to 3 session games with randos online. You invite your best randos and you put them in the ultimate high class cream of the crop rando group. And then they just instantly become friends every time. That's how it works.
So, like, playing with rando is like your vetting session, your vetting process.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I'll spend some of my time to, like, you know, get on Discord with people I've never met and run an RPG session with them. And like, okay, one guy's mic barely works and he sounds like he's shouting from the bottom of a well. And like, one guy's a power gamer and you have a rules lawyer. And it's like, but you have like a good player in there usually. So,
What makes a good player a good player?
I mean, they'll role play. They're polite. They're delightful to talk to. They role play with other players and not just interact with the game. They have, they do things. They have a decent handle on the rules. They're conscious of what's happening at the table. Like there are a lot of things that can make a good player, and not every good player fits the same mold. In fact, I think the ideal group has a lot of what I consider good players that fit completely different molds and have different strengths. But
like niche.
Yeah.
Different niche. Yeah. And I remember what I want to ask you about, like at the in between session interaction. Is that something that happens a lot in the style of the style of game that you play? And you like that?
Oh yeah, players. Oh yeah, players are always talking about it. Yeah, you hate it.
Oh, that's also part of the reason why I don't like those one time game. Because like then people want to like play by post between session, and I say like, man, I'm busy. Like I'll see you next week. You need to fucking get into that.
Right. So my players, they'll talk to each other between sessions. If they need rules adjudication, then they know that sometimes they just got to wait on it. Like I'm not available 100% of the time. In fact, during this game, I got a message from a player who wanted to know if he could do something. He knows he's got to wait. Right. Oh, delightful to talk to. Is that code for they don't make incredibly sexist comments at the table? Well, if I filtered out people who made sexist comments, then I would probably be on a different channel, because let me tell you about the introduction to this channel.
I was about to say that.
I was like, yeah. So the first time I talked to MrMax, he like, or you, I'll talk to you. I won't talk to your audience. I'll talk to you. You messaged me and asked if I wanted to come on your channel. And I was like, yeah, sure. I don't know anything about you, right? I mean, I know one thing about you, but everybody knows. We won't get into it. There are some rumors that go around, right? But you're more than the thing true. That okay. So anyway, I'm like, all right, let me just go to this guy's channel and check it out, and we're gonna do my Mr. impression, okay? Because I clicked on a video, like the first video that came up, I don't remember what it was, but like you started it with, all right, okay, I'm gonna do my Mr. impression. I'm so sorry. My mother says I shouldn't talk about women on this channel, but I'm never going to let a woman tell me what to do. It's like, oh, okay. I was like, I'm definitely gonna talk to this guy.
Yeah, that was I guess it was my what was it? In my why I don't let men play as female character.
Maybe. I think that might have been it, yeah. And then you did like a video reaction of my video on sexism, and you were like, oh gosh, what did you say? Well, I'm going to speak Harmony's going to speak more intelligently than I will on this, but not more intelligently than I could, because I'm the one with a male brain.
I was in team with the Gygax thing, right? Yeah.
I'll be honest, I didn't watch past the first 5 minutes, but I was rolling the first 5 minutes. It was so good.
Well, I appreciate you can take a joke, right? Just like just like
I don't
that's why I put the
care.
warning in the front
Mhm.
of the stream now, right? Because people sometimes we make those comments, right? We're
Mhm.
doing those stream. They also need to be entertaining. So yes, sometimes we're gonna I say what I think, but sometimes I turn it up to 11, right? Just like for comedic
Right.
effect, right? And to make you think, right? Just like
Yeah,
come up with your own fucking opinion. I'll go to the
sure.
extreme so you can find your place in between.
I'm of the opinion that anybody can be made fun of, and I don't really care if people make fun of me. The rule is it has to be funny. If it's like
Yeah.
not funny, then it's just mean and I don't like it, and they're a
Yeah.
bully and I hate them. But
I'll excuse a lot
if it's
for
funny, yeah,
I'm with you on that. I will let
yeah,
funny gets out of pass. If you make a good
Yeah.
joke at my expense, something like that. If it's funny, hey, it's funny. It's like,
right.
Yep.
Like people can say some pretty heinous shit about me, but like if it was a good burn, then it's okay, and I'm fine with
Yeah.
it. But like if it wasn't a good burn, then like they're just a bully. But
Yeah.
no, I don't care. I mean, men and women have been ripping on each other since the dawn of time. It's like the oldest classic tradition is to make fun of the other sex, right? I think so.
Well, yeah, no,
I don't know. Like, yeah.
we're not the same, right? That's something we agree on, right? Interesting.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. What do you feel about this thing about like a men playing female character?
Men playing female characters. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really. It's kind of weird. I don't know. I have a preference that people play characters of the same sex that they are. Now, I don't really enforce that. I don't enforce my preference on everybody, but what I don't like is and I've had this before, and it doesn't matter who's doing it. I don't like it. Is adult men who are like over the age of like 30 playing like 16-year-old female characters. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It always like because I'm never sure if it's a sex thing. I don't know.
It is.
It is.
It always is.
Okay, so it's a sex thing. All right.
99%
So,
of the
yes,
time it is.
I'm not a fan of that. I like people to play the characters of the same sex that they are, which I normally do. I think I've played a male character before, but normally when I play a PC, I'll play a female character. I was making a character for my Traveler game recently, and the DM is somebody who I'm sure some people in here are aware of, who has a famous position of women shouldn't play games with me, or I don't let women in my group. Well, he let me in his group, and he invited me, and I'm making my Traveler character, and I was telling him about him, and he like started referring to him as he, and I was like, no, my character's a girl, and he's like, she went to the army. No, she's not. I'm like, no. I was like, no, but
okay, but you were making sandwich in the army.
no, I think I said like, well, look at my strength score though. I had like a 3 on strength. Like clearly she was hired in on she was in a program and she was discharged pretty early. So
yeah.
But,
yeah, no, like I'm this guy that say like because obviously that's the easy thing to say. No, just just role play the gender you are, right? The sex you are, I should say. But I don't do the easy thing, obviously. So I say no, I don't care if women play with men. I have a double standard, and I'm not sorry about it. I don't care if women play men because, like in my experience, that usually hasn't been a trouble. And it doesn't feel like being a sex thing. And also, I feel like in an adventuring setting, it'd be normal to have a group that's skew more male, right?
Yeah.
Adventuring would be like if adventuring was a thing, it'd be a male thing. You would have some women once in a while that'd be there, but it'd be like 95% male, right? Or 98% male, like the army.
Yeah, it would skew male, I think. And I'm not a stickler on that. Like, I don't care if my group has the same like gender skew as I think should be, as would be more accurate. It's not about that for me. It's just about like,
Yeah.
It's hard for a lot of people to play the opposite sex without it turning into a caricature.
Yeah.
And without
exactly.
it taking away from the depth of the character.
Well, I think
If
like
you're trying,
caricature of men is
yeah,
less harmful because like men are simpler and they are caricatured themselves oftentimes.
maybe.
If you look, like, oh,
I
you
don't
can do a caricature
know. Uh,
of men. Well, you're just playing like Andrew Tate or some shit like that. So, a lot of men are fucking caricature of men.
I get, yeah, I guess. I mean, women are the same though. Have you seen that one that's like going around, the like preschool teacher that's like nagging everybody, and she's like, "Now you have to share the world with each other." It's infuriating. Everybody hates it. She's speaking like preschool language, and she's
You have
like
to
a
send me that.
caricature of what they think. Like, oh, what? It's like everywhere. It's a big thing right now. People are like,
You have to share me that. Like, I haven't seen that.
oh no,
It sounds
it's
hilarious.
awful. I'm so sorry to tell you that exists, but like no, women caricature themselves. Like it's like you guys have seen it in chat, right? But yeah, no,
I don't this crowd. Yeah.
For me it's more about it's more about it takes away for me when like a lot of people RP characters of the opposite sex. Sometimes it works. Like I don't think everybody's universally bad at it, but a lot of people are. And it's also weird when men like roleplay girls. I don't like it.
And the thing for me, that because I'm so focused on roleplay, like for me, like it doesn't bring anything. Like it takes away something because like there's this weirdness, there's like this cognitive dissonance that I have to always remember that you're a woman, right? Which is just like one step further. Then oftentimes you're not gonna portray something like woman accurately,
Yeah.
for good or bad reason, whatever. And it doesn't bring anything to roleplay. Like people like say like, oh, but I want to be something different than me. And I say, if you're a guy and you can't think of a guy that is different than you, right? Human variety is infinite. If you cannot, and it's the same thing with people like always want to play those exotic race, which we can talk about as well. Like if you rely on making your character a gimmick, in the sense that, oh, you're a guy but you're playing a female, or you're a guy but you're a human but you're playing a tiefling or shit like that, right? I always hate on the tiefling for some reason. I guess I would hate on Tabaxi, but I'm a cat guy, so I get that one. But if you're a guy and you say like, oh, because I want to be something different than me, like that already tell me that you're not a role player. You're not into role play,
Right.
because you rely on a
No, I
gimmick.
agree. I'm with you on that. Humans are infinitely variable. You can do whatever you want as a human, and they're definitely, in my opinion, the best race. But I prefer to roleplay humans, just because I can roleplay someone that's the complete opposite of me, but still leave it in human. Oh boy. But still be a human. I'm sorry. I think my blood sugar may be low. I apologize.
Do you need to step away for a second, or?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna find out.
If you
Carry
need
on.
to,
I'm sorry. No, I just need a second. It's fine.
Yeah. And and like you said, like playing a human and stuff like that, like you can be something that is completely different than you, but you're still under your understanding. But when you start like playing like those exotic races, now you have to take those other consideration. What would it be like to play somebody that lived for 500 years and probably have like 1,000 more to live, right? What would it be like to live somebody that spent his whole fucking childhood on the ground? What would it be like to live? You have all those other considerations that you have to add, and now you have to take that into consideration, the character that you're building up. Because if you don't, you're just playing a human in a skin suit, and then why bother? Just play a fucking human, right?
Yeah. It is just a different skin for humans. Like, I don't know, tabaxi are furry humans and tieflings are devilly humans. I don't really know. I'm not. Go ahead.
Talking about tabaxi, you mentioned earlier on the Twilight Imperium thing that the cats people were like traitor.
No.
And they do that as well in Skyrim with the gadget that are trader. What is the thing with like? What would people associate cat with trading? Like,
Uh,
cats wouldn't be trading. There's
That's a
nothing
good question.
trader people like, like with cats. You have cats.
I
see
wonder
the
if
big
it has
cat
its. It may have its roots in some mythology. I'm not really sure.
Which one
But
would that be?
yeah, I don't know.
Because you have cats, I have cats.
Yeah.
Would you see them as fucking trader?
No.
No.
I mean, not really. No. But
keep a spell with stuff on it.
I'm almost certain that has some sort of folklore root. But I'm not really certain what stories spawn that. I wish I knew. Nicholas Carmago says Arabic.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about
I
that.
don't know. I don't know. I'd like to look into that. But
yeah,
no, they're making all the races the same, which is kind of lame. You know what my players did? I'm going to talk about my Godstain game more because my players, they made a race of spider people, right? And the spider people are very, very different. But not only do they have their own racial traits, they have like their own behavior really, because they are I think it's a K selected species is what it's called, or it might be R selected. I forget the but
are you going there? K and R selection?
Yeah. So they're just why? What's wrong with that?
I don't know. It's just it's been a while since I read about that. But
okay, I can't remember which is which, but they're the ones that we aren't. So they have like a million babies, right?
Yeah.
And they don't really care which ones survive, and they're scientists.
Yeah,
so they'll just throw their bodies at science. I think it's R too. I think K is fewer offspring, but R selected. They have like a ton of offspring, right? And so they'll just like throw their bodies at science, and they don't care if they die. They're like, there's a million more of us. Who cares, right? And so they end up just having this very reckless behavior where they're all like dashing in front of bullets and stuff. So it's I mean, I like racial identities for RPGs. Wow, let's not that's an out of context quote, I suppose. But yeah, I like unique racial
the place to make those,
identities, right? Oh god. I'm gonna get in trouble.
T-shirts say, yeah, well, you already are. T-shirts say like MrMax, they equate cats with gypsy and or itinerant, wandering trader or drug dealers, and that's even weirder because like if you know anything about cats, they're fucking territorial. They're definitely not nomadic. So I don't know why that come from, but
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, there's probably some folklore there that I am not familiar with.
Yeah, well, maybe just somebody that like making some stuff up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do like it because the feline trader, the feline merchant, has been in many different lore. So I don't know. I don't know where it originated.
I don't hate it. I just think it's weird when you think about it. But
yeah. I mean, yeah. We have the same cat, right?
Really? Yeah, the gray
yeah.
and white.
I saw your cat. Yeah, I saw your cat coming up. Yeah, we have the same cat.
I have 3.
Oh, okay. Well, one of our cats is the same brand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The one that you saw is the only one that's allowed in the office.
Oh,
is a bush cat that just when I was living in the woods, it's just like a cat that born there and that I came to my door asking to come in the house, and they say, all right, I only have 2, so why not? But doesn't get along with the other. He's a tomcat and doesn't get along with the other tomcat that I have. So that's the problem. That's why they're segregated. The other 2 are black cats.
Oh, okay.
You have more than 1 as well, right?
I have 2.
You have 2. Yeah. All right. That's reasonable. Don't go to 3.
No, I can't. No. 3 is a cat lady.
Yeah, exactly.
2 is normal. 3 is a problem.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Crispy say you just pick what you want. That seemed to make all race just reskin of human. It exactly is. That's very true. Yeah.
It's incredibly bland. Like, I mean, every version of Dungeons and Dragons, like, I don't know about every RPG. I'm sure there are many without any sort of stat penalties, but every version has had some things that some races just can't do. And that makes sense. You got to make them feel more diverse. It needs to feel different to play something different than human. You need to have good and bad things that come with it.
It's funny because you mentioned that word there. Like, we are so much now like diverse, right? But use it in the right context. Like,
Mhm.
you know, one like diversity is not like people looking different but being the same, right? It's people being different. Is
Yeah.
the diversity that matter, right?
Oh, certainly. I think diversity of thought is the most important kind of diversity.
Yeah.
And Rune actually has a very good point here, and I want to address it. He says that devil's advocate is that race stats lead to a solved game where you always pick orc fighter, gnome wizard, or whatever you want to be min-maxed. I kind of think he's right about that to a degree. When you have power gamers who just really want to max out everything and, you know, get the best character they can, I think that's kind of dumb, though, and you're not going to have as much fun if you do that. My preferred method of character creation is I make a reincarnation table that reflects the probability of each race in that world. And I roll my race randomly, and then I roll my stats randomly down the line, and then I pick my class based on those.
Oh, so you're like a make random character kind of guy.
Yeah. It leads me into playing a lot of different characters, but I mean, I have a random race and random stats because I like to choose the things that my character would be able to choose, and I like to not choose the things that my character wouldn't be able to choose. My role playing begins in character creation, so I don't get to choose my race, neither does my character. If my
I think
character is,
Sean there, Mage Musing,
yeah.
would be in alignment with you on that, on a lot of
Oh,
things.
okay.
I think I believe, correct me, Sean, if I'm wrong, that is a big like random role character guy.
Yeah, I like that. It makes me play a bunch of different characters, and also, you know, I don't like choosing things that my character wouldn't be able to choose, and I like choosing the things that my character would be able to choose. Anyway.
I don't know if Zon is getting drunk there or if he's just tired because he's in Germany, like it's late now. But if you role play a species against type, it stand in contrast to Zedzing with everything against. You just blend. Yeah, that's also the thing that this is such a fucking tired trope. This playing against type all the time, right? That's so fucking annoying. I have nothing else to add to that. Like, like it's the fucking Dritz effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of that?
Yeah. And I have some, like whenever players play a drow character, they're always like the exception drow. So, I mean, but that's for drow specifically. Like, yeah, it happens.
Yeah, there you go. Sean confirmed. I like randomizing 3d6 down the line, 4SC and all that. There you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Arun said Power Gamer sucks. So this like
yeah.
I think I'm on good methodology, but I don't think Power Gamer do that much. Yeah. For me it's really like about like go ahead.
That's the methodology I prefer. I have a couple power gamers in my games, and when they do their power gaming thing, I end up eye rolling a little bit, and I've gotten much better at telling them, no, just chill out. You can't do that. You don't have the time. Stop it. But they are generally pretty respectful of ruling, so I don't mind them that much anymore.
Yep. Are you? I guess you're mostly a GM. You play in some game as well, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm mostly a GM. I like it better. I've gotten,
you like it better?
Very good at it. And I've gotten really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of practice, and I've been running games for a very long time, not just role playing games, but I have a background in board games. I used to run a bunch of games at like I used to work as a contractor for Fantasy Flight, and I would run games at like every major gaming con. But this was before I was an internet person, so like, I mean, it's like different now, and I haven't gone to gaming cons since I became like an internet person. So,
well, you should now. You're gonna be recognized, and you're gonna be.
Yeah.
Oh, you're that people that I saw online.
That hasn't happened to me yet. I had one guy at a game shop say, "Do I know you from somewhere? I feel like I know you from somewhere." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know," and it just ended there. But I think I know. So that's it. Like that's my big celebrity moment.
I never had any, but I
Whew.
also live in a place that doesn't even speak the language that I speak in online.
Right. You speak French, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But
And when you which are you? Because you mentioned that there's one game now that you're a player in.
Mhm.
What do you play?
Traveler.
Oh,
Are you asking me about my character or about the game?
is that the game that you play like this chicks that was in the army?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm playing Traveler.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
the classic variant of Traveler.
Yeah, we played quite a bit of Traveler, but most like the Mongoose
Mhm.
one.
Okay, I'm not too familiar with different editions of it.
There's
It's my
too many
first
of them.
Traveler game, so
That's something that bothers me. All those different versions of Traveler, right? Just like
mhm.
make a different system, make it a new game. Fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I quite enjoy that game. I don't know if it's being run in the traditional way to run Traveler because our DM has a bit of a bit of a propensity right now to turn everything into a Bronstein.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, there you
So,
go.
yeah, but no, it's fun. I've had a good time with it.
What does that mean, turning everything into a Bronstein?
I mean, he'll make us make player characters and then he'll get everybody independently acting and he'll be like, all right, guys, we're gonna have a session Bronstein this day now. Like, okay, another session Bronstein.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, that's something I want to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Bronstein is a lot of like the domain play, right? I guess what do we call domain play? Is that right?
Yeah, for the most part. So it can be on several different scales. Mainly, it's a very rules light, role play heavy game where everybody has different objectives. Like really, the only thing you need to know about my last session, Bronstein, was that I might have assassinated Scudder for Mike's character using a Medusa or using a Gorgon type thing named ShamWow. Yeah, that's the only thing you need to know.
Name what?
Her name was Shamblow. It was from a story called Shamblow. It was a Medusa story, but I started calling it ShamWow, and then everybody started calling it ShamWow, like after some old cleaning commercial.
Yeah, no, I remember those.
Yeah.
Are you a jokey DM and a jokey game?
No.
That's
I
a
don't
big
know.
sin.
Yeah, it was terrible. So I started calling her ShamWow because I forgot the name Shamblow. And then everybody just sort of picked it up. But I assassinated Mike's character. It was great.
Because of a time,
Yeah.
the trouble I have with those Bronstein no, I wouldn't say with the Bronstein game because I don't really know what it entails, but like with those domain play game, right? A lot of problem I have is like oftentimes it feel like they turn into like worker placement game, basically, right? We're just saying. And for me, like at the table, you do stuff that should be done off the table, and you do stuff that should be done at the table, off the table, right? If you want to do domain play, right? I'm like, you look at a show like Game of Thrones. I don't know if you've seen that. You may be a bit young where it was on, but it's
No,
just a joke.
it's a joke.
But you see like this lord or this king or whatever, right? He has to go he wants something, he has to go talk to that guy and try to make a deal, right? And for me, that's what I want to see at the table. I want to. This
Mhm.
is like for me, like those games are about role playing game are about character interaction. I don't care so much about the world. The world is a background for the character to evolve in, right?
Yeah.
It's a backdrop for a like what is interesting is character interacting with each other and character having conflict within themselves and amongst each other, right? That's what I want to see. But oftentimes this thing is off screen, right? It's like, oh, I made a deal, like just make a roll. Yeah, he agreed to lend you 500 knights, right? And then like, well, can't we see that part? That's the fucking part that's interesting. I don't fucking care about the battle. Like,
Mhm.
I'm the guy that was watching like Love the Ring, those Love the Ring movie, right? And I've seen when I was watching the second one, I saw the first one in theater. I didn't go see the second one in theater. I waited until it was on DVD or cassette back in the day on VHS. And I only seen the third one a few years ago, to be honest. Because I got fucking bored. This fucking Battle of Elms Deep, right?
Mhm.
We get it. There's a big battle. It was epic. Move fucking on. I don't fucking care
Yeah, that
about
was
seeing
like,
Legolas like serve down a shield, right?
yep.
What I want to see is about character interacting with each other, right? Just this
Yeah.
fighting is boring. So off screen that, don't off screen the making the deal.
Yeah, I don't think that Bronsteins are normally about battle so much. Are normally about like combat battle. There's lots of wheeling and dealing. I've never been in or seen a Bronstein game that wasn't rife with deals. That's like all they do. But
But
yeah,
are those made in
Mhm.
character? Are those made like in role
normally
play?
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and
If they
in
are
every example I've seen, yes.
okay.
In every Bronstein I've been in, yes.
Okay. If
Um,
it's the case, like I said, like I don't know exactly what are like, and I'm saying like I'm talking
yeah.
about like that's what I didn't want to say like about Brown Stein specifically. I want to talk about
Okay.
domain play because, like
Yeah.
I said, like I don't know what
Um,
Brownstein exactly
so
incline.
the Bronstein game was a game made by David Wesley, which was about the College of Bronstein. See, the game's called Bronstein. The college is called Bronstein. All right, we're gonna go with that. That's not real. No one quote me. But it was about the official College of Bronstein. So it's totally weird that they named the game of Bronstein. But anyway, so essentially every player had a different role. Like one of them was the college chancellor, and one like they had different roles within the college, and they all had they all wanted something different. So basically each round they would negotiate with each other and decide what they were doing, and then everybody submits secret orders to the referee. Now, the orders are always secret. They can tell each other that they're doing one thing and then submit an order to do another thing. And then the referee adjudicates every order upon the map, which there's usually a map. I've done ones without maps before, but they adjudicate all the orders on the map. Um, some of them have different rules that dictate how each order is adjudicated. But in general, all of them are adjudicated. And then to the point where there is conflict. Now, each one has different conflict resolution methods, but they're usually fairly light. And they come down to a couple rolls of the dice or something similar, right? So when that happens, then people talk again and they're dealing with each other and figuring out exactly who's doing what. And there's always a big surprise because somebody said that they were going to cooperate with something and then didn't and sold someone else out. But it's pretty heavy role play.
Hmm.
And it's almost completely in role play. Like one I was just in. Oh, sorry, you don't want to hear all my stories now.
No, I want.
It's so late
Go
for
ahead.
this. Okay.
Go ahead.
Like okay.
You were on that show.
All right.
Like
So
people are not here like to listen to me talk. They can listen to me to talk every
yeah,
fucking week, right?
I was just in a traveler Bronstein and we had some wild things happen. Like I was going we were looking for a missing scout, okay? And my character was in a car with this character called this character run by this guy named R-Dubs, a character run by Dundermoose, and a character run by Scudder for Mike, right? Well, unfortunately, things have been spoiled because one of these players was bragging in some chat that, hey guys, I have a chance to kill Harmony Ginger in game. And then like people were leaking it to me. And I was like, oh, he's I'm not gonna let this one pass me up, boys. Is what and so people were like leaking it to me. Like multiple people were leaking this to me. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm like pretending not to know this. And I have two other people in this car who are like, this guy's gonna kill us, and we're under fire. And they're like, and then Dundermoose kills the driver. And I'm like, why did you kill the driver? We are under fire and none of us can drive. And so I'm screaming at Dundermoose and Scudder for Mike to get people to get people back working and to get us out of there. And of course, this guy, another player, parks over and he's shooting at the thugs that are after us, right? And I'm like, okay, so he's helping us. He's not a threat. And I'm like yelling at them to get working. And then he approaches our car and he shoots me and kills me.
Oh,
why? Yeah, because he was an assassin. But yeah, no, it was just a it was just a thing. I was playing with a group of guys, and I was fairly notorious. So they were why are they targeting me? They were targeting me because I was the only girl in the group and I was fairly notorious. And they were like, oh yeah, we want to kill Harmony Ginger for bro points. It's fine.
We
it's
got
whatever.
that as well, like metagaming, right? Just like
yeah.
I quite dislike that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about metagaming? Because I have like this weird position on there.
So it's different.
I don't think that all metagaming is bad.
I don't either. It's different in different groups. I'm fairly malleable on that. If I go into a group where people are metagaming, then whatever, I'll metagame. If I go into a group and like nobody's metagaming, then I don't like. Then I'll keep it to no metagaming. Like I'm fairly malleable on that, depending on the group. I'm not. I don't have super strong opinions about it. Sometimes in my games, I'll tell my players, "Hey, your character doesn't know that. Don't act on that information." But in some groups, like in the group of guys I play in, like these guys will metagame. So I mean, that's just part of the game for them, and like that's fine. Some groups are like that, so I play like that with them. It doesn't particularly bother me that much, but at the same time, it's not my preferred style.
Like for me, like I'm okay with metagaming, like a specific type of metagaming that serve kind of the session in a way, right? Serve the what we're doing together at the table. Like one example of what I'm going back to, because it's a public game that people can watch, right? We did a 4-hour session game with Shauna, Crispy, and Phil, and Rick from 28mm RPG, which was the GM. So I shouldn't forget him. But we all started the session separated, and some of the character never met in the session, just to give you an idea, right? But I think sometimes it's okay to meta game that if you hear the turn of somebody else, like that his character is going to the duck over there, right? Then comes your turn with your character, and you might find a reason to go to the duck. It's a reason in character that makes sense, but that's in a sense metagaming because you want to create this interaction between those two characters that didn't meet. So I think this type of metagaming is right and is good. But if it's just like, oh, you're this internet celebrity, so I'm gonna go after you, right? Then that sucks.
Yeah. That was no, I understand. Like I said, I don't have particularly strong feelings on metagaming, and I'm probably I'm malleable on that. I call my players out on it when it gets too much, but I allow a certain amount of it, I guess. I don't know. Something I've never really had that strong feelings on.
Yeah.
Somebody asked about
my ilk, but nobody seems to want to join. So I guess
You sent the link to what?
My ilk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but nobody wants to
Gotcha.
join. Yeah, there are
Okay.
the people there in the chat, like Crispy and Sean.
Gotcha. I understand. Yeah,
They have,
no, that's cool.
yeah. Some
I've
people have
never met
live.
these. Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah. You wanted to reply to something in chat?
Yeah, I mean, somebody used my name. When they use my name, I have to reply.
I guess that was on.
Yeah. I have to address every use of my name. So if like cons at random tables where I don't know the players, a lot of new players find themselves in that position, having no friends in the hobby. Weirdly, I've played in like one random table game ever at a con. Normally when I'm at cons, like this is weird, but I have never been to a con as an adult that I wasn't working. When I was a kid, my dad used to take me to Gen Con because we lived in Louisville, so it was like just a couple hours away. But as an adult, I've never been to a con I wasn't working. And if I'm working at a con, then when I'm not working, I'm like relaxing and meeting people. So
Is your dad is a gamer as well?
He was a sci-fi fan, and he really liked the aesthetic, and he played a so okay, I'll tell this story. I've never told this story on stream. When I was a kid, I was a kid at the right time to be very into playing the Pokemon card game, right? And my dad, like, he looked at it and was like, oh, this is actually a fairly strategic game. And so he got into it too, as like a man in his 40s. And I was like 12 years old into it. And so he would bring me to he got real into it, and he would bring me to Pokemon tournaments, like
really?
all over the US. Like I won a trip to California once by winning a Pokemon tournament, and I got to go to a bigger tournament in California.
How come you never told that story on stream?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm afraid people make fun of me because I used to like Pokemon. I don't know.
No, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. But so my dad was really into that, and that's kind of why we went to Gen Con.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is that where you got your hi, Harmony?
Hi.
Hello, Crispy.
How are
Harmony.
Pleasure to meet you. Is that where you got your love of games? Did you grow up
from my dad?
Playing games, or were you more the driving force behind it?
So I think I was more the driving force behind my love of games, because my dad would like play Scrabble with me and stuff, but and he got really into Catan for a while, but he would never play role-playing games. My mom either. I wasn't allowed to play role-playing games when I was a kid. I had to wait until I was 18 to play Dungeons and Dragons or anything like it. But we did play like Scrabble and Catan and a couple others. I tried to introduce a little bit more, but it got kind of shut down by my dad. My dad only liked a few games, but he liked them a lot. He was more of a sci-fi fan.
Okay. You mentioned something. If I could ask one more question, Max.
You can ask all the questions you want.
No. You had mentioned that you enjoy, you're doing this, which is super brave of you, doing a convention. Well, it's an in-person store game, right? At your friendly local gaming store. And you like introducing role-playing games to new players. And I share that desire as well. What have you found as you're introducing new players to the hobby has been the best elevator pitch to get them into it? You've talked about it a little bit, but I'd just like to hear more of your pitch. How do you
for my games in particular?
Yeah.
So
just in general,
I hook people into my game. I say, I tell people it's going to be a big world. There's a lot of things that can happen. I don't even know everything that's in it. A lot of it's up to the dice, and your characters are going to be driven by you. You are the driving force of the adventure. There is no beginning, middle, end. There's no BBEG. There's no set story. You're not actors in my game, but you can do whatever you want. You can decide the story. You can decide to make this. You guys can play house for all I care, or you can go on epic adventures wherever you want to go. Like this is your story. So you can make whatever character you want and pursue whatever goal you want. You will never play a game this open, but remember that your levels of risk will come with consequences. So you can choose how much risk you want to take on in this game, and you can explore things that I don't even know what's there yet. And but when you do it, you have to remember this isn't like this isn't like an RPG where everything scales to your level. There's going to be some like wild stuff that you run into that you're not ready for yet, and that doesn't mean it has to be combat. Not everything you fight, not everything you find, you have to fight.
Yeah,
but
crispy.
it's.
I'm guilty of that. That's
so
true.
I definitely.
I commit suicide by Game Master a lot, and Max accuses me of just not reading the room correctly. But I'm like, I get attached. I get attached to players really quick. How do you get attached to your characters pretty quickly, Harmony, or is that does it take some time to kind of get into their skin, so to speak?
It depends.
Yeah.
Some of them I've gotten very attached to, but it depends. Like I'll take a read on the GM. Like, does this GM look like I should get attached to my character or not? So I have 2 GMs that I play with on a regular basis. In Robbie's game, I get very attached to my character. In Jeffrey's game, I don't get attached to my character. Right. I know better. Better.
How do you feel about like this? Those I can be a deadly GM. I'm not gonna save your character. I don't give you plot armor and stuff like that. But there's always an out. You can always like. How do you feel about that? Like, are you like a very deadly GM? Or do you try to be fair? Do you try to be like? How do you feel about like this player death and stuff like that?
Oh man, you must
as a GM and then as a player.
I've killed. Since I have kept count of the number of player characters I've killed in all of my games combined since I started GMing. I am in the 40s. But so that sounds like a lot, but I run a lot of games, and probably about half of them were controlled by 2 players. But it kind of depends. I try to play enemies to what I think they would be like. Like if they are a beast, they might pursue the characters for a certain extent, but they're not going to put their lives in danger. They care more about other things. But if they're like a grudge demon that is about like satisfying a grudge or an ancient curse, then they will pursue the characters forever. Like it sort of depends on what I'm running. I try to play it to the best I can based on the intelligence level and the motivations of the enemies. Does that answer the question?
Yes. Okay. Satisfying answer.
do you since you have such a populated cemetery, do you let when you like? We've been talking a little bit about character death. Since I'm pretty good at dying in Max's games. And the question becomes, who narrates the death of the character? Do you ever experiment with your players narrating their terrible death or their big success, or do you do all the narration on it?
I feel out the room. Like, so a lot of times I roll the dice because I roll them face up. They all see what happened.
Right.
So if I roll the dice and it's face up and everybody can see that the character's dead, a lot of times I just look at the dice and look at the player. It's just, do you want to narrate? And they know what that means generally. So I don't know. I sort of just feel out the vibe generally. I don't have a set rule on that.
How do you do about that on general roles? Like, do you like, because sometimes we talk a lot about like, the player is gonna rate success. Are they gonna rate failure? And then the GM's gonna rate the other side, right? We vary from game to game. A lot of the game we do are kind of experimental. Sometimes we try something like we say like, oh, we're gonna try this thing in this game. So, but usually, oftentimes, like, and I'm the guy that say, if you have a cool idea for a success or a failure, go ahead and narrate it. If you come with nothing, I'll narrate it, and then we'll go from there. But how do you feel about that yourself?
About like so about which part? About the rolling
narration?
Narration. Oh
yeah. Who's like, do you narrate with the character? Like the character say like, oh, I I want to slash the dragon in the face, and then do you take away the
yeah.
narration? Do you after the dice
So
roll?
basically, it's kind of twofold. A lot of times, the character or the player will say, "Yeah, I'm gonna jump up on this ledge and I'm going to stab him through his skull," and that's their side of the narration. And then a lot of times, I will kind of complete the narration and do sort of the GM side. So when I narrate, it's very monster centric. When they narrate, it's character centric. So a lot of times, it's sort of twofold, where they'll start it and they'll describe what their character is doing, and then I will describe, okay, you hear a sickening crunch as its skull caves in, right? So, I mean, there's kind of two parts to the narration, and they take over their character's part, generally, is the default in my games, I think.
But you still take a lot of the brunt of the narration, right?
I mean, yeah,
like for what actually happened.
Yeah. So, yeah, but when I narrate, it's more what is happening to the monster. When they narrate, it's what's happening with their character. And I don't like... So I try to keep narrations as short as possible, because I used to be more verbose, but at this point, I don't like describing like very insignificant details, like the silk sheets on the bed in this room of the mansion. Like, nobody cares. And it's just taking up
I care
time.
about the sheets.
You care?
What are
you
the
care
sheets?
about the sheets? Okay.
Excuse me, Mr.
All right.
Madame Game Master, what color are the sheets on the bed? Is
I
this
don't ask
a
questions
high
to the
thread
GM.
count?
Don't ask questions to the GM, Crispy.
But
No
questions to the GM. We don't do that.
I will start with Harmony on that one.
Yeah.
I don't care about those little details. Like,
No.
if they're not significant, and that's also something with the 4D stuff. The players are welcome to make it up, right? Just like, what kind of like setting it is. It's the Lord bedroom and stuff like that. You can go say like, oh, I'm sitting on those silk sheet and stuff like that. Oh, it's so soft, right? Then they're silk sheet. But like, I like keeping the description short, because I'm very worried about like what we call like turnflation.
Turnflation. Yeah, it's a bad thing.
Like, at some point, like you wanna oh, I'm gonna put some flavor and some description in there, and then you like keep your turn going on and going on and going on. It's sort of like, yeah, we get it. We get what you're fucking doing. Fucking get on with it.
Yeah. So
Crispy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm bad at this. Like, I am bad at this, because I'll get really into a scene and I'm just really excited, and I'm seeing the world through my character's eyes, and then I start talking, and I'm watching the other players, because we're doing this online, and I've been talking for how long now? Like, this is I'm supposed to have a 2-sentence turn, and it's hard to keep to that. So I'm with you actually on Harmony. Like, you can overdo it. And it's easy to overdo.
You're good at adding flavor to the world doing that. And
flavor is good, but like too much
is
flavor.
Good at adding flavor quickly.
Yeah. Phil is much more succinct than I am. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think a typical turn in combat in my games would be the player saying, I run up with my Warhammer ready and I swing it across the creature's face, and it looks like I hit.
Where you are,
and
saying what you do.
Yeah, that's what we do.
And so then I'll say something like, all right, you hear a crunch as its chitin gives in and a green gooey liquid spills out. Anything else? No. All right, next player. That's basically what that's basically a turn in my games generally.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that qualifies with descriptions, but that's like during combat. Out of combat, I try to be succinct. Like, I try to be very fit as much in as like in 10 seconds as I can.
Yeah, for me it's like, describe what's matter, and what doesn't matter, it's up to the player, right? If it's important, I said it. If it's not, it's up to you. And then it can become important, like, oh, that's a cool idea. Let's make it something.
Shauner had a question for you, Harmony, and I was going to ask this also. We spend quite a bit of time in our games, even though we've played multiple sessions with each other now, so we kind of know what to expect, and they tease me about it, obviously. But we use social like some kind of social contract before. Do you use that in your games, or is
like,
that something?
Do you mean like a physical contract? Or?
Well, essentially, yes. So these are the conventions that we're going to use for this game. So in other words, if you smell really bad, you can't be at this table. But also, what is the like if there's a broken dice, like what are we gonna do that, like those kind of things. Or in this game, this we're not allowing this particular feat, or those kind. Do you have something written out that you use?
Yeah,
or
I
is
do.
It just
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I do have something written out that I use. I have a full thing for like especially for when I play with randos, like this is what is acceptable, this is not what is not acceptable in the game. I do have some social contracts about like this is how we handle when basically I have a rule where I allow people to say they're going to do something and then take it back as many times as they need to. That's fine. There's no limit on that unless you roll the dice. If you roll the dice, it's been done. It's too late. Can't take it back. Right. So that's the rule I use on that. But I mean, I have lots of stuff like that I do. Also, hello.
Look at that guy.
Like look at this island boy that we have.
Yeah, joining the stream and adding himself to the
from Hawaii.
From
Hawaii. I was gonna
Hawaii.
say I see palm trees, but I also see mountains, so that looks like Hawaii.
So it's Hawaii over here.
Aloha.
I'm the island boy.
Yes, you are.
Nice.
When are the face tattoos?
Is the connection shit or is it good?
It's kind of shit.
It's
but we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. Sort of.
All right, I'll shut my mouth then. You guys were just saying how awesome I was. I thought
Yes, you are. Phil puts on a master class on how to do NPCs that are believable and are interesting, and he'll just populate the world with them, and it's fantastic. It's really good.
I don't actually put on the class.
No, he just does it naturally. It's just natural aptitude.
I try not to overthink NPCs. I feel like when I do, my players spend no time with them at all and just move on. And they're like, yeah, this guy's dumb. But then when they're like, there's a goblin that survived the raid. What's his name? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, Phil. I said Phil because there's a Phil in here. Why did I do that? But like, I'll just make up a goblin name. I'll be like, it's Craig. And I'll be like, oh, Craig, he's the best NPC you've ever made. He's perfect. Craig. We love him. And so like, I don't put a whole lot of thought into NPCs anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. I just like, I don't know if you're familiar with Guy from How to Be a Great GM, that guy. But he's got
I've heard of him.
Will, yeah. Will? No.
He's got this move that he calls O-Gas that I kind of use. And it's basically whenever someone's created, you just give them a job, a goal, an attitude, and the stakes for their goal. So if they care or not about, if they'll put their life on the line or whatever. You just generate that on the fly, and then you have a personality.
Yeah,
make it sound easy, but yeah, he does it well.
Really what I do is I just go, I think I'm a little Mexican pregnant lady right now. Sorry, I just become a Mexican pregnant lady. That's what I hate squat.
That's easy to do.
A lot of times what I do is I like to roll random quest generation seeds for NPCs because when my players find an NPC out in the wilderness because I rolled one out there, I'm like, all right, let's just roll a random quest generation seed. And I'm like, okay, all right, so this guy is delivering something here. I mean, last time I rolled that, he was delivering a bomb, so he became an entirely different NPC from what I thought he was going to be, but that's fine. So yeah.
You just gotta. The other thing that he recommends is you don't make them. Well, this is something that it's almost like the reason I like 4D is you don't make the NPCs cooler than your PC. You can't be cooler than them. Otherwise, they resent.
Oh.
Unless it's
the
big.
No, but that's
unless it's the big bad, then you get to get away with it.
Oh no. I disagree.
They're non-heroic character, right? That's often something
that's what I mean. Non-heroic.
Yeah. Oh, I love making heroic NPCs. I'll make heroic NPCs that bug my players to death so that they can't wait to to really mess with them. Man, there's nothing better than like
that's the way to do it.
Oh yeah, no, you go into a dungeon, you find like this arrogant paladin or fighter or something who's like trying to fight his way through the dungeon alone, and he's like, I don't need you guys. Leave. I was here first. I'm not going to share the spoils with you. And then like they come in and like of course he gets into trouble, right? But like I don't know. I really like making heroic NPCs and making my players like have a grudge against them.
Yeah, that's the hack is if you're gonna make them cool, they have to be unlikable or lazy.
Well, they kind of become
they
like
don't want to do
antagonists
stuff.
at that point, right?
I guess so. But I don't know. I've made like a likable group of adventurers that were like in the world coexisting with my players, and my players are like, these guys are too likable. We don't like them. So they like so they ended up like finding a way to make a portal to like the astral plane and shoving them in it. And I'm like, okay, I can't really do anything with that. All right. You succeeded.
Like it's always funny kind of a plot, right?
Yeah. But yeah.
Do you do how do you feel about setting? What's your key about? Like, is it all your own, or do you do like I'm gonna play like in this world?
I do established settings for my rando games, but I do like my players made their own setting. Like they all made gods, and then we created the setting in a Bronstein war game, and then played as player characters. Man, I had one rule coming into this game, which is that I could only use the word Bronstein twice, and I've used it like maybe 20
Oh yeah,
times.
that's done. Yeah, that's all over.
Yeah, that's done.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like a hard and fast rule. It was like a just like a guideline.
I didn't adhere to the guidelines like
fine.
At all.
It's fine.
Crispy
Max
said it's
didn't
fine,
either.
so I guess.
Yeah, I said it was fine. Yeah, I'm not. It's not my stream or anything, but
yeah, I guess it's the boss
totally
now,
fine.
right?
Yeah, that's right. I just elbow my way in and say a lot of words really quick, and then it's mine.
Yeah.
We don't do a lot of campaigns. I'm really curious as to if that's how we would do it or not. You know.
I missed what you said.
I like. I'm sorry. It's probably because it's shit. But I said we don't do any campaigns like ever in 4D. So I wonder if that would be a good fit for the 4D style. Because the reason I think we don't is because we like to suicide our characters.
Yes, we do.
I love it when my characters die so much.
Especially if it's like meaningful. I love it.
But it works with the stable, you know, like you guys got.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
I want to run a fucking like short campaign for you guys, right? I'm working on that. Like, I'm talking about you that now, like the Madden Citadel, right?
Yes.
Is that what I call it? I'm waiting for you, Phil, to fucking come back from the island.
Yeah, so you can bring
white.
yourself.
I got my myself.
You're not coming
I
back.
got a red eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 5:30 here.
Oh,
wow. Talk amongst yourself. I need to step out for a second.
So, Harmony, you have a preference for longer term campaigns. What's the average duration of a game for you? Like years, months?
Yeah, years.
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 What's the current record for you?
It's actually not as high as you would think. So I've probably run a dozen or so games that have lasted over a year, I would say. I've run probably 40 to 50 campaigns that have lasted a matter of months. I would say the longest is probably 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
The longest single campaign, yeah.
And when did you know that was over? Because we had talked about that, and you said doesn't really have a set end. How did those long ones end?
A lot of times it ends with, half the players are kind of coming into new life circumstances and no longer have this spot free. So let's just have like a session or two and kind of wrap things up while because we're going to hemorrhage players here. Because you know, a lot of times when you have campaigns that go on for years, you have players who, oh, my wife is pregnant, I'm getting a new job, you know, they just move on in life, and so when that happens to too many of them, that's kind of when it's time to wrap it up. A lot of times, but I think with the game I have now, with a big world with lots of moving pieces and lots of players in it. I think that one's probably poised to last a while, but we'll see. I don't know yet.
How do you keep on top of it? Do you do journaling? Like what do you do to stay on top of things?
Oh, it's actually on the other side of the room. But I have a planner that I use, and I write down events, and I write down character birthdays in the planner. I write down when certain like when characters are time jailed, when they get like a buff that only lasts a certain amount of time or something like that. I'll write down all sorts of events. When an army is coming to attack a city, I'll write it down so that I don't forget the date. But yeah, I use a planner. It's not that hard. It's less like, I think I do less prep than most GMs, and people like when I talk about my games, people are like, wow, you must prep all the time. But like, I just don't really. Most of my prep is adjudicating downtime and writing down when certain events are going to occur.
Do you see your journal really pretty?
No, it's not. It's like a standard like Amazon planner.
I didn't
get the scrapbook in it.
I didn't get this. No, I'm not scrapbooking. I didn't get the
it has to be like a tome. I think you need a tome with like gems.
No.
I would totally.
I have to get a new one every year.
I would want a leather bound. I want leather bound. I want ribbons.
Got a string.
You know, to keep my strings. No. Yeah, absolutely.
The question is, do you do like the big title with the bubble letter and then like colored in highlighter?
Yeah, I hurt my eyes, and
I would do like the big fancy letter to start off every page. You know, like that.
Yeah, bubble letters with heart eyes and. Cursive that my players can't read because half of them are Zoomers.
Oh, I only write in cursive. Only.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess when I write kind of cursive.
Just because it's indecipherable. Seriously. Yeah.
For me, it's like exactly like that's the same for me. It's like I write in like chicken scratch, so like you could see it as cursive. It's just like a line that.
Plus the French, they won't tell you this, but the French learn the penmanship differently than in English.
Yeah.
It doesn't look the same.
Are you in the French camp?
Me? No. I can read it though. I've seen it.
I don't want to go to a French camp.
You don't
smell.
Yeah,
you don't smell
too much garlic, chives, scallions, which are like pretentious onions.
It's just a real weird premise for a camp, I find.
The French camp?
French camp? Yeah.
Who's gone to that?
So I guess we're going to address the question that brought up on the screen. I wasn't going to address it because it didn't come from you guys.
No, I was about to ask you. So, you know, Zon, read my mind out. Like, oh, will you ask, will you 4D roleplay with the boys? Would you be interested in doing a one shot with
I would be interested. It's a matter of if the scheduling works out.
Yeah, scheduling, but, of course.
Well, the good news is you don't have to spend. The good news is you don't have to spend 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can do one shot. Like, one shot, maybe
2 hours.
We'd love to have you, though. We really would. It would be great.
So Friday nights are usually not good for me. We'll figure it out, though.
No, we do them on Monday. Usually, the time we
on Monday
or game 9. Yeah. For a group.
I can't do Mondays.
No,
but we can be flexible if something else
comes
up.
Flexible. We can arrange you, right?
Yeah.
I'm having flashbacks right now.
Why having flashbacks?
When I ask girls to do things.
Oh yeah.
Phil, okay. Sorry. Well,
yes, I get the calendar.
Phil has a family. It's okay, Phil. You've got a family and
we will
wife.
But yeah, maybe we could get something together if you're interested. I think it would be. We'd love to do something and have you in a little game.
Certainly, I'd love to do something at some time.
Would
Do
you
you,
be yeah,
Mhm.
good.
do you guys stream those or?
Oh yeah, it's all live.
We do them
Okay.
live.
So this is
No
weird.
safety
This is
net.
totally weird. It's totally weird. For like I've been like RPG Twitter girl for like a while now, and this is totally weird. I've never played an RPG that's streamed.
Oh really?
Oh really?
Okay.
Yeah, really.
Well, if you wanted to, and it's a lot to ask of you, but
no,
if you wanted, and you don't have to decide on a live stream, obviously,
no, exactly.
That's not polite.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, if you have time, if you could check out some of the games that Max is, or any of us have posted, you can kind of get a flavor for it, and then you'll be able to make an informed decision and say, yeah, that doesn't really interest me, or you know what, sure, I'll give it a shot. Like especially ones like. Which one would you recommend watching, Max? The Witch of Duncanville is a really good one to watch.
Well, that's one I ran, but like the Rising Sun one was a very good one as well.
I ran a game called The Rising Sands. You could watch one of those sessions, like the third one or the third session. I think I would recommend. Just watch it and see. Oh, okay, this is how we're doing it, and then maybe there's some interest there, and let us know.
Because we have like those rules for role play, right? We often talk about role playing games have rules, right? And they have rules for combat, they have rules for like encounter and stuff like that. But like oftentimes they don't have rules for role play, and we do have those where we do add them to the game, right? Just like one of them is like like the say where, like when we talk about it a bit earlier, like say where you at, say what you do, say what you say, don't ask questions to the GM, stuff like that, right? Those are our rules, right? And people oftentimes say like, oh yeah, 3D role play, 4D role play, that's easy, anybody can do it. But it is actually a learned skill. It's not as easy as people think, right? Because sometimes you want to know something of the world, and then like I always, like the example I often ask, like you want to know if there's a door there, and you want to know if it's locked. Don't ask the GM, is the door locked? Mm-hmm. Like think about what you would do in real life if you want to know if the door is locked. Well, you go test it. So just say that. I go check if the door is locked, right? I just go jiggle the door. And there you go. But it's not as easy as people think. But I think when you do it, I think you get much more from the hobby. So if it's something that you'd be interesting to try and challenge yourself with, we'd be happy to have you on.
Okay.
I've also noticed a lot less perception checks.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of perception checks. That's true. Yeah.
I don't do as many as I think most people.
That's good.
How often do you have your player?
I gotta go, guys. I gotta get ready for my flight.
Have a safe flight, Phil.
Have a safe flight. Yep.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. I'll it's still an Airbus. Just
okay.
Yes.
Good. Right, it's
Phil,
not a Boeing. Excellent.
Yeah.
Not a Boeing.
Phil and people watching, and Crispy as well. Sunday, by the way, we have an extra Tear Off Your Skin on Sunday. It's about like and Crispy, if you can come on this one.
Yeah.
And same old
should be there. Yep.
It's gonna be about like having player let the character take L's. So it's gonna be about player death and running away and giving away your purse.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's tough for me.
My players don't survive very well. I was gonna say is I would get really attached to them, but then I'm like, I know that this guy's not gonna make it. They're not. Yeah. None of them are gonna make it.
Yeah.
I was
Justin, make sure you knock on some wood, and we'll talk to y'all later. See you. I hope I'm not ending the stream. Look, I'm reorganizing everything. I don't know.
Just do the Leaf Studio. Don't do the end stream thing.
This is kind of comical.
I'll kick you out. I'll kick you out.
Just kick him out. Oh, that was worth the price of admission right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Phil got given the wheel lately, and he's still figuring out the way around it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting tired though. It's kind of late.
Yeah. Yes, I so you're yawning there, right? Just like right in the camera.
Well, yeah, that's 2 and a half hours. I mean, we could have had a great game. for 2.5 hours.
That's always the thing we were saying, right? We would having those long stream and say, well, we could have like a game by that time. But I think sometimes it's good to talk about
Sure.
doing some theory crafting. Do you have any before we wrap up, Harmony or Crispy? If you have any other question you want to ask
I was just
Harmony
going to thank Harmony for coming on. It was interesting to hear about your game and what you're doing, and it was great. Nice to meet you.
Glad I got to come on. I've been curious about this one for a while, so I'm glad I got to come on. Thank you.
Do you have any other thing you want to ask or do you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of anything.
You can think of anything?
We should call it Poor Harmony's.
My brain's empty.
It's my bedtime too.
Yeah.
No, I'm done.
I got hit with it.
Well, am I done? I guess I'm not quite done, but it's okay.
No. All right. You can get something else. No, you get something else. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go sleep.
But I'll go somewhere else. But no, just well, thank you, Harmony, for coming and talking to us. I think it was very interesting, and I think it's interesting to figure out like although what we do is quite different, we're trying to answer all of the same question, and that's what I thought was interesting. I don't know if we solve anything, but it's interesting to talk about like we often talk like this different style. Like we promote one style very heavily, and we push for that. And I appreciate people that push for something and believe in something, right? Like to be honest, I'm a bit tired of people just thinking, oh, it's all good, everything is valid as long as you're having fun. And that I guess might be true because it's a hobby, something we do for no other purpose than having fun. But if you're just online to say that, then you're wasting everybody's time. Like I like people that are trying to promote something, that have an idea, that think about the game and stuff like that. And I think you're doing that, so I appreciate that a lot. Even though if we come up with different conclusion, that's fine, right? It's still interesting.
Yeah. I think a lot of alternative like woke alternative channels or alternative to the woke channels when it comes to RPGs seem to be focused on saying like, all right, wokeness sucks, WotC sucks, and they're focused on the negative and they're not building anything. And I want to be part of the movement that's building something. And that's what I like about your channel is you guys actually dive into things and you don't care. You're not like you don't waste hours upon hours talking about Mexican orcs or whatever. Because that like nobody cares. That stuff is stupid. Who cares? Like who cares to talk about that? You spend the time you have on the air actually talking about fairly important questions in RPGs and talking about solutions. Like you guys are actually gamers. You're not like here for the drama. You're here to theory craft and to get deeper into games, which is how I know that you guys are kind of my people, right? Because that's the stuff I care about. And so I'm very glad that you invited me on because there aren't a whole lot of channels like that out there anymore.
Yeah, I think like that's the thing. Like you said, like oftentimes it and it's also the bigger channel. Like it also like shilling for WotC and just like telling you like and repeating the same tired old advice over and over again. And I started my channel because I found like a lot of the fucking advice that people like keep like they repeat the same advice like for 30 years they've been repeating the same advice, and now like it's on YouTube, right? And it's always the same thing. And in my experience, I found like it doesn't work. It doesn't improve the game really. And now you're somebody that come up and propose something different, which might not be for me, but at least I think it brings some solution to those issues, right? Just coming up with a backstory, right? Who the fuck care about that? That's been like coming up over and over again, and it doesn't solve any problem. And the other side of that, outside of the people like reinforcing bias of people, I guess, and shilling for WotC and just like thinking everything is nice and as long as you're having fun. The other side of that would be the everything sucks and it's all stupid and we're dooming it. And instead, I'm not too interested in that as well. I want to talk about the game. I want to come up with a solution, right? There's some issue. There's something we can do better. And I'm always glad to see people, even if they come up with different solution, at least putting some thought into it.
Crispy,
that's fine.
Any final word?
No, I thought you said it well, and was glad to meet someone new and It's great. Well, hopefully we can keep the conversation going in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, it was great. It was a pleasure to be on.
Thanks for inviting me.
Harmony,
I appreciate it.
Any final thought?
No, I think I said my final thoughts on your channel. I think it's a good one. I appreciate what you're trying to do here, actually. This was all right. You know, you want my final thoughts on your channel? I'm going to give you my final thoughts on your channel. Yeah. I have been interviewed on like dozens of YouTube channels at this point. I've been to like I've been to lots and lots of YouTube channels and they're asking me the same question. You know what people want to know? That people want to know about the people I associate with. They're like, well, what do you think of this guy? What do you think of how this guy said this? Don't you think that was kind of mean? But like, no, you guys actually care about the ideas on games. This was one of, if not my favorite, the best time I've had in an interview since I started going around to different YouTube channels. And I really appreciated that.
Well, I was trying not to do like an interview. I was trying to do a conversation, but
yeah, well, okay. You know, they run together, right?
Way to ruin the compliment, Max. Jeez.
Yeah, all right. You know what? I changed my mind. It was like above average.
That's right. Okay, yeah, just dropped by like a couple scales right there. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate it. You know, I think it was it's always useful, bring different ideas and stuff like that, right? Just like people can like, you know, I often say like I come up with those ideas, and we come up with those ideas when we do those streams and stuff like that, and we bring forward stuff like it's not the truth, right? I'm telling you, people watching at home, I'm telling you stuff like that I think can help your game, that I think should the way things should be done, but you have to figure out stuff out your own, right? Like listen to people like me and people like Harmony that have different idea and find out what works for you, right? Just like we have a different way of doing stuff, and that's fine, right? You're coming to this channel, you're gonna hear about some stuff, a certain way of engaging in this hobby. You're gonna go to Harmony and you're gonna find a different way of engaging with the hobby, and that's fine.
Yep. And buy Cosmic Encounter. It's a great game. Go get it.
Oh my god,
get it.
Already?
Yeah, you were the one in chat saying it was so good. Yeah,
that was me, and on X or Twitter.
Yeah. Shauner says it's his second favorite after Twilight Imperial 3.
You know, see, this is why Shauner and I can never be friends, because he's wrong. Because Cosmic Encounter. Yeah, I know. You see, he's right about the top 2 games of all time, but he's wrong about the order.
That's always with the smallest difference that we get the most
right.
That's
yeah,
right.
of course. Nah.
It's like the Gulliver thing, right? Should you open the hard-boiled egg from the big end or the small end?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a big thing too.
Deal
breaker.
I didn't know that I had the same favorite games as some of you guys, so that's really cool. Though.
It's good. It's good to have some common ground. Yeah. Absolutely.
They're a good game, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think we have. I think we're mostly in common ground.
I think so. I think so.
All right.
Right. Anyway,
well, I'm gonna head out. Thank you so much. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Harmony, for joining me. Well, don't leave yet. I'm gonna end the stream, so you don't have to.
Okay. I was gonna
right away. Thank you for joining me, Harmony Ginger, and thank you for jumping in, Crispy and Phil, and thank you for the people in chat that joined us and commented, and thank you for the people that are gonna watch on the replay and leave comment and subscribe and ring the bell. There you go. Put a like on the video. I'll be back on Sunday. Talking about having player let their character take L's. And thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye. Put your skin back on.